Everyone thought the story ended when she kicked him out. But men like him don't forget humiliation. And this morning, his Lamborghini was parked right outside her door. Chapter 1. The Taking. The dive bar on 5th and Carmine smelled like spilled beer and broken dreams. Raven Cole had worked at Finnegan's for 3 years, long enough to know Trouble when it walked through the door. Tonight, Trouble wore a $5,000 suit. She noticed him the moment he entered. Impossible not to. 6'3" of dark Mediterranean features, sharp cheekbones that could cut glass, and eyes like black ice that swept the room with predatory assessment. His presence shifted the atmosphere. Conversations died. Men straightened in their seats. Everyone knew. Everyone but her. Raven balanced 4 pints of Guinness on her tray, weaving through the Friday night crowd. Finnegan's catered to blue-collar workers, college students, and tourists who wandered off the beaten path. This man didn't fit. His tailored suit probably cost more than she made in 6 months. The 2 mountains of muscle flanking him, one with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow, the other built like a refrigerator, screamed private security, or worse. Raven. Sienna hissed from behind the bar, her blue eyes wide with panic. I know. Another Wall Street asshole slumming it. Raven rolled her eyes, delivering the beers to table 7. Probably thinks he's edgy drinking with us peasants. No, you don't understand. But Raven was already moving toward the back corner booth where the stranger had settled with his guards. Professional smile in place, she approached with her notepad ready. Up close, he was even more devastating and more dangerous. A thin scar traced his jawline. His hands, resting on the table, bore the scars of violence. Fighter's hands. Evening, gentlemen. What can I get you? The suited man didn't look at her. His attention remained fixed on the bar where her manager, Danny Finnegan, was wiping down glasses with shaking hands. The 2 guards ordered Macallan 25. Neat. Expensive. Pretentious. The boss still didn't acknowledge her. Raven's jaw tightened. She'd dealt with entitled pricks before, men who thought money bought them the right to ignore service workers. Sir, if you're not ordering, I'll need to... Finnegan. His voice cut through the bar noise like a knife, deep, accented with Italian inflection, and cold as a grave. You're 3 weeks late. Danny dropped the glass he'd been holding. It shattered on the floor. Mr. Salvatore, I can explain. Salvatore. The name triggered something in the back of Raven's mind, but she pushed it aside. She watched as this Salvatore leaned back in the booth, his movements liquid and controlled. A predator relaxed because he knew nothing here could threaten him. I don't need explanations. I need my money. By Monday, I swear. You swore last month. Salvatore's tone never changed, never rose, but the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. I'm losing patience, Danny. One of the guards, Scarface, stood and moved toward the bar. Danny stumbled backward, pale as milk. Sienna pressed herself against the beer taps, frozen. That's when Raven's temper snapped. She'd grown up watching her father get pushed around by men who thought power gave them permission to terrorize. Watched him break under the weight of debts and threats until he'd put a gun in his mouth when she was 16. She'd sworn then, never again. Not while she was breathing. Hey. Raven stepped between Scarface and the bar, her 5'6" frame dwarfed by his bulk, but her voice steady. Back off. The entire bar went silent. Scarface looked down at her like she was an annoying insect. Behind her, she heard Sienna whimper. The guard reached past her, dismissive. Raven moved. 3 years of Krav Maga and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu made her fast. She caught his wrist, twisted, and used his momentum to send him stumbling into a bar stool. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't professional. But it got his attention. I said back off. She turned to face the booth, adrenaline singing through her veins. I don't care who you are or what Danny owes you. You don't come into this bar and threaten people. You want to have a business discussion? Schedule an appointment like a civilized human being. Otherwise, she jerked her thumb toward the door. Get out. The silence was absolute. Salvatore looked at her for the first time. Really looked at her. Those black eyes traveled from her scuffed combat boots, up her jeaned legs, past her Finnegan's tank top, to her face. She had a smudge of bar sauce on her cheek, her dark hair pulled into a messy bun, zero makeup. She knew exactly what she looked like. Nobody special. But the way he looked at her made her feel naked. "You're fired." Danny gasped from behind the bar. "You can't fire her for..." Sienna started. "She just assaulted Marco Benedetti." Danny's voice climbed to hysteria. "Do you have any idea..." "Marco." Salvatore's single word silenced everyone. He stood slowly, unfolding from the booth with lethal grace. He was bigger standing, broader through the shoulders, and when he moved toward Raven, every instinct screamed at her to run. She held her ground. He stopped inches away, close enough that she could smell his cologne, cedar and leather, and something darker. Close enough to see the flecks of gold in those depthless eyes. Up close, he was beautiful in a terrifying way, like a blade or a storm. "What's your name?" His voice dropped lower, intimate, meant only for her. "Raven." She lifted her chin. "Raven Cole. And I meant what I said. Leave." Something flickered across his face. Surprise! Amusement. It vanished too quickly to identify. He reached up slowly, giving her time to flinch. She didn't, and his thumb brushed her cheek. When he pulled back, red sauce stained his skin. "Marinara," he murmured, studying it. "Homemade? What?" "The sauce. On your face." Those eyes locked onto hers. "Did you make it?" The absurdity of the question, given the circumstances, nearly made her laugh. "Yes, from my grandmother's recipe. Why?" "Because..." He leaned in, his breath warm against her ear. "I'm going to enjoy ruining you, Raven Cole." He stepped back, buttoning his suit jacket with one hand. Marco and the other guard immediately flanked him. As they moved toward the door, Salvatore paused, looking back over his shoulder. "Monday, Danny. Don't make me come back." Then they were gone, disappearing into the night like smoke. Raven's knees almost gave out. Sienna rushed over, gripping her arm. Oh my God, do you know what you just did? Kicked out some asshole?" But her voice shook. That was Dante Salvatore. Danny had gone from pale to gray. The Dante Salvatore. He owns half of Lower Manhattan. His family controls the Italian territories from here to Boston. And you... He pointed at her with a trembling finger. "You just assaulted his consigliere and threw him out of my bar." The name finally clicked. Salvatore. The Salvatore crime family. She'd heard rumors, seen news reports carefully worded to avoid libel. One of the 5 families that ran New York's underworld with iron fists and rivers of blood. "I didn't know," she whispered. "Well, now you do." Danny slumped against the bar. "We're all dead." "We're all fucking dead!" Raven's phone buzzed in her pocket. Unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Hello? Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Dante Salvatore's voice poured through the speaker like dark honey. "A car will be waiting outside your apartment. 12 Bleecker Street, apartment 3B. Be ready." "How do you know where You belong to me now." "Raven, the sooner you accept that, the easier this will be. I belong to no one." "You arrogant..." 9 a.m. "Don't keep me waiting." The line went dead. Outside, in the back seat of a black Escalade, Dante Salvatore smiled for the first time in months. Marco rubbed his bruised wrist, scowling at his boss through the rearview mirror. "You want me to handle her, boss? Send a message?" "No." Dante's smile widened, predatory and pleased. "I'll handle her myself." He'd gone to Finnegan's to collect a debt and remind Danny who owned him. He'd left with something far more valuable, an obsession. The little waitress who didn't know fear. Who fought his trained enforcer without hesitation. Who told him to get out like he was any other customer. She'd looked at him and seen just a man. Not a monster, not a king, a man. It had been years since anyone looked at him that way. "Find out everything," he told Marco. "Family, friends, debts, secrets. I want to know what she dreams about." "Boss, she's nobody. A waitress. She's mine." The words came out harder than he'd intended. "And when I decide something is mine, Marco, what happens?" Marco sighed. "You keep it." "Exactly." Dante looked out the window at the passing city, his reflection ghost-like in the glass. "Tomorrow I'll make her understand. One way or another, Raven Cole is coming home with me. The Lamborghini was already waiting in his garage. Midnight blue, her favorite color. He'd already had someone pull her social media profiles. By morning, it would be parked outside her building, keys in the ignition, a clear message: run if you want. I'll always catch you, and when he did, he'd never let go. Chapter 2. Caged. Raven didn't sleep. She spent the night researching Dante Salvatore on her laptop, falling down a rabbit hole of criminal enterprise disguised as legitimate business. Salvatore Holdings owned restaurants, construction companies, waste management, shipping, all fronts according to the conspiracy forums, all clean according to tax records. The man himself was a ghost. No mugshots, no indictments, just blurry photographs from charity galas where he stood in $15,000 tuxedos next to politicians and celebrities. The captions always mentioned his business acumen and philanthropic efforts, never the bodies. But Raven found those too, if she dug deep enough. Rival gang members who'd disappeared, witnesses who'd recanted testimony, a federal prosecutor who'd committed suicide right before trial. All connected, however loosely, to the Salvatore family. At 8:47 a.m., Sienna called. "Please tell me you're not still in the city," her friend begged. "Where else would I be?" Raven peered through her third-floor window at the street below. Bleecker was busy with Saturday morning traffic, dog walkers, and students stumbling back from all-nighters. Normal. Safe. Except for the midnight blue Lamborghini Aventador parked directly in front of her building, gleaming in the morning sun like a jewel. Fuck. What? What is it? He sent a car. Raven's mouth went dry. A Lamborghini. Oh, honey. Listen to me. You need to leave. Right now. Pack a bag and catch the next bus to where? Raven laughed bitterly. You think he doesn't know about you? About my sister in Boston? He knows where I live, Sienna. He knows everything by now. A knock on the door made her jump. I have to go. Raven, don't. She ended the call. Through the peephole, she saw Marco, the guard she'd thrown last night, standing in her hallway looking annoyed. He knocked again, harder. Miss Cole, Mr. Salvatore is waiting. Tell Mr. Salvatore he can wait until hell freezes over. Silence. Then, he said you'd say that. He also said to tell you he's currently having breakfast with your sister at Boston General Hospital, room 412. Raven's blood turned to ice. Her sister Lily, 23 years old, fighting leukemia, recovering from her third round of chemo in a hospital room 3 hours away. Vulnerable, helpless. She ripped open the door. If he touches her, he's brought her flowers. Marco's expression was unreadable, and paid her medical bills. All of them, including the experimental treatment her insurance denied. What? Also established a trust fund for her continued care. He checked his watch. Mr. Salvatore is very generous to those who cooperate, and very thorough with those who don't. Your choice, Miss Cole. Raven wanted to scream, to fight, to run, but she'd learned young that sometimes the only choice was which cage to enter. At least this one came with her sister's survival. Give me 5 minutes. She changed into jeans and a black leather jacket, pulled her hair into a ponytail and grabbed her phone. No bag. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of thinking she was staying. When she emerged, Marco escorted her downstairs with a hand hovering near his concealed weapon. The Lamborghini's scissor door was already open. Dante Salvatore sat in the driver's seat, sunglasses hiding his eyes, dressed casually in black jeans and a gray Henley that showed off arms corded with muscle. Somehow he looked even more dangerous relaxed. Get in. Where's my sister? Safe. I gave her a tablet loaded with books and told her you'd call later. He patted the passenger seat. In, Raven. I don't like repeating myself. She slid into the car, the leather seat molding to her body like a lover's touch. The door closed with a solid thunk, sealing her in. Dante removed his sunglasses, and those black eyes studied her with unsettling intensity. You look tired. Funny thing about being threatened by criminals. Kills the ability to sleep. His mouth quirked. I didn't threaten you. I made you an offer. By leveraging my sick sister. Very honorable. I never claimed to be honorable. He started the engine. It roared to life with a growl that vibrated through her bones. But I am practical. You have something I want. I have the resources to ensure your sister survives. Mutually beneficial arrangement. And what exactly do I have that you want? He pulled into traffic with the ease of someone who knew every car would move out of his way. And they did. We'll discuss that at home. I have a home. You drove me away from it. No. You have an apartment with bars on the windows and a broken lock you jimmy with a credit card. He navigated through the city streets like he owned them, because he probably did. You work 60-hour weeks at a bar that barely pays minimum wage. You fight in underground MMA matches every other Thursday at a warehouse in Red Hook, pocketing $2,000 per fight if you win. You send 70% of your income to Boston General. You eat ramen and eggs 6 days a week. You haven't bought new clothes in 8 months. Raven's hands clenched into fists. You have no right. I have every right. You became my business the moment you put your hands on my consigliere. He glanced at her, and something hot flashed in his eyes. Though I'll admit, watching you take down Marco was the most entertainment I've had in years. Where'd you learn to fight? None of your business. Everything about you is my business now. They were leaving Manhattan, crossing the bridge toward New Jersey. You're right-handed, but favor your left leg for kicks. Your stance is Krav Maga, but you've got ground game from BJJ. You're faster than you look and you don't hesitate. That's rare, especially in women. Sexist pig. Factual observation. He smiled, and it transformed his face from coldly beautiful to devastatingly gorgeous. Most people, men included, freeze when violence comes. You ran toward it. Why? Because I watched my father die from running away. She didn't say. I don't like bullies. Neither do I. Which is why last night's situation was a test. That made her look at him. What? Danny Finnegan's been skimming from my businesses for 2 years. Small amounts. Thought I wouldn't notice. Dante's voice went flat, emotionless. I went there to see if any of his employees would warn him. Show loyalty. You were the only one who stepped up. So you weren't actually going to hurt him? Oh, I'm definitely going to hurt him. But I respect loyalty, and I reward courage. He turned onto a private road lined with security gates. Also, Marco did harass your coworker. Sienna, right? Blonde, nervous, undergraduate degree from NYU. He made inappropriate comments about her body. That was real. Raven's mind raced. So you were testing your own man? And found him wanting. He's been demoted. You, however... They passed through a gate that opened automatically. You just earned yourself a job. The house beyond the gates wasn't a house. It was a compound. A modern masterpiece of glass and steel. 3 stories of architectural genius nestled in acres of manicured grounds. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter. Cameras tracked their approach. This is insane. This is home. He parked in a garage that held 9 other vehicles, each worth more than most people's houses. Your room is on the 2nd floor, East Wing. Marco will show you. You'll have a phone, computer, anything you need. You can call your sister anytime. My room? Raven's voice rose. I'm not staying here. Dante cut the engine and turned to face her fully. In the enclosed space, his presence was overwhelming. Let me be very clear. You have 2 options. Option 1, you stay here, under my protection, and work for me. You'll be safe, your sister will be cared for, and you'll want for nothing. Option 2... His hand shot out, gripping her chin gently but firmly, tilting her face toward his. I let you walk out that gate. Within an hour, Vincent Moretti's men will grab you off the street. They'll use you to get to me. They'll hurt you in ways that will make you beg for death. Then they'll kill your sister just to make a point. Her breath caught. This close, she could see the darker ring around his irises, the faint stubble on his jaw. Why would they? Because everyone who saw you throw out Dante Salvatore and live is now talking about it. You humiliated me in front of witnesses. In my world, that makes you either incredibly important to me. His thumb brushed her lower lip. Or incredibly stupid. Either way, you're now a target. The only safe place for you is here. With me. You did this. Fury burned through her. You made me a target. No, Bella. You made yourself a target the moment you decided to be brave. He released her chin but didn't move back. I'm just the one offering you a cage with better amenities. Now, are you going to keep fighting me? Or are you going to be smart? Raven wanted to claw his eyes out, but she thought of Lily, of the medical bills that would have bankrupted them both, of the experimental treatment that might actually save her sister's life. She thought of Vincent Moretti. She'd researched him too, found the bodies, the brutality. What kind of work? Nothing illegal. He smiled at her skeptical look. Much. I need someone I can trust. Someone who isn't afraid of me. Someone who sees through the bullshit. You'll be my assistant. I don't have any qualifications for. You threw out a Mafia boss for harassing your coworkers. You're more qualified than my entire security team. He opened his door. Come. Let me show you your cage. As they walked through the house, Raven cataloged every exit, every window, every weakness. The place was a fortress, but no fortress was impregnable. The staff they passed, a housekeeper, a chef, 2 more guards, all nodded respectfully to Dante and looked at her with undisguised curiosity. Her room was bigger than her entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the gardens. A king-sized bed dominated the space, dressed in silk sheets. The attached bathroom was marble and gold. The walk-in closet was already filled with clothes in her exact size. I'm thorough. Dante leaned against the doorframe, watching her explore. Dinner is at 8. Dress code is whatever makes you comfortable. I'll have Marco brief you on security protocols tomorrow. And if I try to leave, then I'll bring you back. Simple, matter-of-fact, terrifying. Every time. Until you understand that fighting me is pointless. You're mine now, Raven. The sooner you accept it, the easier this will be. I'll never be yours. He pushed off the doorframe and crossed to her in 3 long strides. Suddenly, she was backed against the window, his hands bracketing her head, his body radiating heat. Never is a long time, Bella. And I'm a very patient man. I hate you. Good. Hate is passion. Passion I can work with. His eyes dropped to her lips. Indifference would be worse. For a terrifying moment, she thought he'd kiss her. Worse, part of her wanted him to. But he just smiled, dark, knowing, predatory, and stepped back. Welcome home, Raven Cole. Then he was gone, leaving her alone in her golden cage, with the horrible realization that the most dangerous thing in this compound wasn't the armed guards or the security system, was the man who'd built it, and the way her traitorous body responded to his touch. Chapter 3. Dangerous Games. Raven didn't go down for dinner. She spent the day testing her prison. The windows didn't open more than 4 inches. Safety feature or security measure, take your pick. The door had no lock on her side. She counted 12 cameras on the grounds, probably more she couldn't see. The guards changed shifts every 6 hours. The perimeter fence was 12 feet, topped with decorative spikes that were anything but decorative. At 8:15 p.m., a soft knock preceded Marco entering with a covered tray. Mr. Salvatore thought you might prefer to eat in your room. He set the tray on the desk. He also said to tell you sulking is unbecoming. Tell Mr. Salvatore he's standing right behind me. Dante's voice cut in. Marco quickly made himself scarce. Dante entered like he owned the space, which technically he did. He'd changed into black slacks and a white dress shirt, rolled to his elbows. The casualness somehow made him more dangerous. In his hand, he held a tablet. You've been watching the security feeds. He held up the tablet, showing her own face from multiple angles, counting guards, timing patrols, measuring distances. You're planning an escape, no point denying it. Can you blame me? No, I'd do the same. He set the tablet down and uncovered her dinner. Lasagna, homemade by the smell, garlic bread, and a side salad. But I'd make one critical error that you're about to make. Which is? Thinking I'm the danger you need to escape from. He pulled out his phone, swiped, and turned the screen toward her. This photo was taken 6 hours ago, 2 blocks from your old apartment. The image showed 3 men standing beside a black Mercedes. She recognized the type. Enforcers, muscle, the kind of men who broke bones for a living. One was staring directly at the camera, his face a map of violence. Vincent Moretti's crew, Dante continued. They've had your building under surveillance since this morning. The only reason they haven't grabbed Sienna for information is because I have 2 of my men watching her. When she leaves for her shift at Finnegan's, they'll follow her. Keep her safe. Raven's appetite vanished. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand the reality of your situation. He pocketed the phone. You're not my prisoner, Raven. You're under my protection. There's a difference. Really? Because I'm not allowed to leave. You're not allowed to die. He pulled out the desk chair, spun it around, and straddled it backward. Casual. Intimate. His arms resting on the back. Let me explain how this works. Moretti and I have been at war for 3 years. Territory disputes, business competition, old grudges. His father killed my uncle. I killed his cousin. It's a cycle, you understand. Blood for blood. What does that have to do with me? Everything. Those dark eyes pinned her. In our world, women connected to powerful men are leverage. Wives, daughters, girlfriends, they're targets. Moretti has been looking for a weakness in my armor for months. Then you show up, publicly humiliate me, and walk away breathing. What does that tell him? Understanding dawned, cold and horrible. That I matter to you. Exactly. Whether it's true or not, and we'll explore that later, he believes it. Which makes you valuable. He'll try to take you, use you. And when he's done extracting information, he'll send me pieces of you in boxes. Raven's hand shook. She gripped the edge of the desk. You're saying I'm bait. I'm saying you're caught in a game you didn't know existed. He leaned forward. But here's the thing, Bella. I don't lose. Ever. So if you're smart, you'll stop trying to escape and start learning how to survive. Because like it or not, you're part of this now. I didn't ask for this. Neither did I. Something flickered across his face. Regret? Impossible. But I saw you fight for your friends and I made a choice. I could have let Moretti have you, watched from a distance while he broke you. Instead, I brought you here, into my home, under my protection. That means something. It means I'm your property. It means you're mine to protect. He stood, the chair scraping against hardwood. There's a difference, though I don't expect you to see it yet. Now eat. You haven't had a meal since yesterday, and you'll need your strength. For what? His smile was all predator. Training starts tomorrow. If you're going to be in my world, you need to know how to survive it. Marco will teach you weapons. I'll teach you everything else. He was almost to the door when she spoke. Why? Dante paused, his back to her. Why what? Why do you care if I survive? You said yourself I'm just leverage, bait, so why bother training me? He turned and the look in his eyes made her breath catch. It wasn't cold anymore. It was burning. Because when I said you were mine, I meant it. And I take care of what's mine. Eat, Raven. Rest. Tomorrow, your real education begins. After he left, Raven stared at the lasagna for a long moment before her stomach won out over her pride. The first bite nearly made her moan. It was perfect, rich and layered and better than anything she'd made herself. Her grandmother's recipe, probably, because of course he'd have his chef make it. He was inside her head, learning her, cataloging her weaknesses and desires. It should have terrified her. Instead, a traitorous part of her felt seen. She ate in silence, watching the sun set over the grounds, and tried not to think about how easily she could get used to this. The next morning, Marco woke her at 6 with a knock and a curt training yard, 5 minutes. Raven dragged on yoga pants and a sports bra, pulled her hair back, and followed him down unfamiliar hallways to a state-of-the-art gym that would make most professional facilities weep with envy. Dante was already there, wearing fitted athletic gear that showcased a body built for violence. He was working a heavy bag, his combinations precise and brutal. He didn't stop when she entered. You know Krav Maga, good foundation, but it's a sport. I'm going to teach you how to kill. I don't want to kill anyone. You will when they're trying to kill you. He landed a devastating hook that made the bag swing violently. Marco, hand her the Glock. The consigliere, his wrist still wrapped from her throw, offered her a handgun with obvious reluctance. It was heavier than she expected. She'd never held a real gun before. Her underground fights were hand-to-hand only. Safety's here. Dante moved behind her, his chest against her back, his hands covering hers on the weapon. His body heat seeped into her. Finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Breathe steady. Targets downrange. She tried to focus on the paper silhouette at the end of the firing lane, tried not to focus on the way his breath stirred her hair. I'm not shooting anyone, not today. But you need to know how. Need to be comfortable with the weight, the recoil, the reality of it. His voice was low, intimate, because if Moretti's men come for you, they won't hesitate. And I need to know you can protect yourself if I'm not there. You said I was under your protection. I am not infallible, Raven. No man is. His hands tightened over hers. Now shoot. She squeezed the trigger. The recoil shocked her, the sound even through ear protection making her flinch. The bullet went wide, missing the target entirely. Again. They spent 2 hours like that, shooting, reloading, adjusting her stance. By the end, her arms ached, and she'd hit the center mass 7 times out of 30 shots. Not impressive, but Dante seemed satisfied. "You don't panic," he observed as she set the gun down. "Most people's hands shake. Yours stayed steady. I've been in cage fights with women who outweighed me by 40 pounds. Takes more than noise to shake me." His eyes gleamed with something that might have been respect. "Show me." "What?" "Your ground game. Let's see what you can do." He gestured to the mats in the center of the gym. Every instinct screamed this was a bad idea, but she was tired of feeling helpless, and the cocky tilt to his mouth suggested he thought she'd back down. Raven Cole had never backed down from a fight in her life. She stepped onto the mat. "No rules?" "One rule. First tap loses." His smile was dangerous. "Try not to hurt me, Bella." She didn't wait for him to be ready. She exploded forward, shooting for a double-leg takedown, the same move that had won her last 3 underground fights. But Dante moved like water, sidestepping and catching her in a front headlock that should have ended the match. Should have. Raven twisted, using his own leverage against him, and managed to slip out. She was faster, but he was stronger and far more experienced. They grappled for position, a chess match of bodies and balance. She went for an armbar, he defended. He tried to take her back. She escaped. And then his hand was in her hair, pulling her head back, his other arm wrapping around her throat in a rear-naked choke that cut off her air. "Tap," he growled in her ear. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Her vision started to darken. She should tap, should submit. But her hand found his wrist instead, and she bit down. Hard. He released her with a curse, and she rolled away, gasping. When she looked up, he was staring at his bleeding wrist, then at her, and something in his expression made her freeze. "You bit me. You were choking me." That was the point of a choke, yes, but he was smiling. Actually smiling, wide and genuine and slightly unhinged. "No one's drawn my blood in 5 years. I'm sorry, don't be." He crossed to her in 2 strides, grabbed her face in both hands, and kissed her. It wasn't gentle. Wasn't asking permission. His mouth claimed hers with bruising intensity, tasting of coffee and possession and something darker she couldn't name. Raven's brain screamed at her to push him away, to fight, to resist. Her body had other ideas. She kissed him back with equal ferocity, her fingers twisting in his shirt, pulling him closer even as she knew she should run. He tasted like danger and sin, and when his tongue swept against hers, a moan escaped her throat before she could stop it. He pulled back just enough to whisper against her lips, "You're magnificent when you fight." Then reality crashed back in. Raven shoved him hard. He let her, stumbling back a step. She pressed her fingers to her swollen lips, her heart hammering. "Don't ever do that again. Lie to yourself if you want, Bella." His eyes were molten. "But your body just told me everything I need to know." "My body doesn't know you're a criminal. Your body doesn't care." He turned away, grabbing a towel. "That's enough for today. Tomorrow we work on knife defense. Dismissed." She fled. That night, Raven stood in the shower for 40 minutes, trying to wash away the feel of his hands, his mouth, the traitorous heat that had pooled in her belly. She failed. At 2 a.m., unable to sleep, she crept through the darkened house. She'd memorized the layout: East Wing bedrooms, West Wing offices, ground floor living spaces and kitchen. She headed for the kitchen, thinking tea might help. She found Dante instead. He sat at the massive marble island, shirtless, a glass of amber liquid in one hand and a stack of papers in the other. Scars mapped his torso: bullet wounds, knife cuts, the hieroglyphics of violence. Under different circumstances, she might have found them horrifying. Instead, they made him achingly human. Can't sleep either? He didn't look up from his reading. She should leave. Should go back to her room and forget the taste of him. Just wanted tea, kettles there, chamomiles in the cabinet above. He took a sip of what was probably whiskey. Fair warning, I'm told I'm shit company at 3 a.m. Raven made her tea in silence, hyper-aware of his presence. The kitchen was huge, but somehow he filled it. When her tea was ready, she should have left. Instead, she found herself sliding onto the stool across from him. "What are you reading?" "Contracts." He finally looked up, and exhaustion shadowed his eyes. Import agreements, shipping manifests, customs documentation. The boring part of running an empire. "I thought the boring part was deciding who to kill." His mouth quirked. "That's actually the interesting part. The paperwork is what kills you slowly." He set down his glass. "Why are you really awake, Raven?" "Bad dreams. About today?" "The kiss?" "About you getting killed because of me." The words escaped before she could stop them. "You said Moretti would come for me. What if he comes for you instead? Because you're protecting me?" Dante studied her for a long moment. "Are you worried about me, Bella?" "I'm worried about being responsible for someone's death. I've been a marked man since I was 15. He pushed the papers aside. "My father groomed me to take over the family. Taught me the business, the violence, the politics. When I was 22, a rival family killed him. Shot him in front of me. Wanted me to watch." Raven's chest tightened. "I'm sorry. I killed them all." His voice went flat, emotionless. "Every man involved. 12 bodies in one night. That's when they started calling me Il Diavolo, the devil, because I showed no mercy. Felt nothing. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand who I am. What I am." He stood, circling the island until he was beside her, close enough to touch. "I'm not a good man, Raven. I've killed, tortured, done things that would give you nightmares. But I protect what's mine with everything I have. Moretti can come. I welcome it, because this time, I have something worth fighting for. I'm not yours. Keep telling yourself that." His hand came up, cupping her jaw with surprising gentleness. "But every time you look at me, I see the truth. You hate that you're attracted to me. Hate that your body responds when I'm near. But you can't help it any more than I can help wanting you. This is insane. Most worthwhile things are." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "I didn't plan this. Didn't want you. You're a complication I don't need. But the moment you stood up to me, threw out the devil himself without blinking, you became the most interesting thing in my world. I'm not a thing. No. You're a force of nature, and I'm the fool who wants to be destroyed by you." He leaned in, his lips brushing her ear. "Go back to bed, Raven. Before I do something we'll both regret. Or not regret, I haven't decided yet. She should move. Should run, but his nearness made her stupid. Made her forget why this was wrong. What if I don't want to go?" His intake of breath was sharp. "Don't play games you don't understand. Then teach me." The words came from some reckless part of her she didn't recognize. "You said you'd teach me to survive your world. Teach me this. Teach me why I can't stop thinking about you even though I should hate you." For a moment, she thought he'd take what she was offering. His eyes went dark, hungry, and his fingers tightened on her jaw. Then he released her abruptly, stepping back. "No, no, not like this. Not when you're confused and scared and off balance." He ran a hand through his hair, the gesture surprisingly vulnerable. "When I have you, Raven, and I will have you, it'll be because you want me. Not because you're trying to make sense of a fucked up situation. Not because I'm convenient, or because you think it'll give you control. You'll come to me freely, or not at all." She should feel relieved. Instead, she felt disappointed. "That's very noble for a devil. I'm not noble. I'm selfish." His smile was bitter. "Because when you do come to me, I want all of you. Your desire, your surrender, your trust. I want you to choose me knowing exactly what I am, and that's going to take time. And if I never choose you, then I'll have to live with wanting something I can't have. Won't be the first time." He picked up his glass. "Now go, before my nobility runs out." Raven fled for the second time that day. Her tea forgotten, her heart racing. In her room, she pressed her back against the door and tried to catch her breath. Dante Salvatore was wrong about one thing. She already knew exactly what he was. A monster who made her feel safer than she'd ever felt, and that terrified her more than any gun or knife ever could. Chapter 4: Forbidden Touch. 3 days passed in a strange routine. Training with Marco every morning. Weapons, tactics, security protocols. Afternoons researching Dante's legitimate businesses, learning the empire's structure. Evenings eating dinner alone in her room while Dante attended to business that he never specified. They avoided each other. By unspoken agreement, neither mentioned the kitchen conversation or the kiss that had branded itself into her memory. On the fourth day, everything changed. Raven was in the library, because of course his compound had a 2-story library that would shame most universities, when Dante found her. She'd been reading about the Salvatore family's shipping operations, trying to understand the difference between legitimate trade and smuggling. "You're frowning." He leaned against the doorframe, dressed in a navy suit that probably cost more than her entire wardrobe. "Bad book?" "Confusing book." She held up the logistics report. "You move cargo through 6 ports on the East Coast. Half of it's documented. The other half just disappears into legal ambiguity." "Smart girl." He crossed to her, peering over her shoulder at the report. "What do you think the ambiguous cargo is? Drugs? Weapons? Stolen art? Much more boring. Tax avoidance." He pulled up a chair beside her. "When you import goods, you pay customs fees based on declared value. If you undervalue the goods, you pay less tax. It's technically illegal, but hard to prove." "That's it? You're not running heroin or trafficking weapons?" His expression hardened. "I have rules. No drugs, they destroy families. No human trafficking, that's slavery. No weapons to terrorist organizations. The Salvatore family built its power on vice and violence, yes, but we have lines we don't cross. Honor among thieves? Something like that." He gestured to the papers. "Why the sudden interest in my business? You said I was your assistant. Assistants should understand what they're assisting with." She met his gaze. "Plus, if I'm going to be bait for your enemies, I should probably know why they hate you." "Fair point." He pulled the report from her hands, set it aside, and stood. "Come with me. If you want to understand my world, I'll show you." 20 minutes later, they were in his Audi R8, driving through Jersey toward the docks. Dante handled the car with the same lethal precision he brought to everything. Fast, but controlled. Aggressive, but never reckless. "Where are we going?" "Port Elizabeth, one of my shipping facilities." He glanced at her. "You wanted to see the business. This is it. Legal, profitable, and occasionally dangerous." They passed through security gates. Dante's car recognized immediately. The facility was massive. Shipping containers stacked like building blocks, cranes moving cargo, trucks loading and unloading. Normal, industrial, boring, until she saw the men. They wore longshoreman clothes, but their eyes were too alert, their movements too coordinated. Security disguised as workers. Dante parked near a warehouse and led her inside, his hand settling on the small of her back. Possessive, protective. The warehouse interior was dim, filled with crates and pallets. In the center, 5 men stood around a bound figure on his knees. One of the standing men turned as they approached. "Boss?" "We caught him planting a tracker on the Shanghai shipment." Dante's entire demeanor shifted. The man who'd been almost playful in the car became something else. Something cold and lethal. He approached the kneeling figure, crouched down, grabbed the man's chin. "Who sent you?" The man spat blood. "Fuck you, Salvatore." Dante's backhand was casual, almost lazy. The crack echoed through the warehouse. "Wrong answer." "Let's try again. Who sent you?" Raven's stomach churned. This was the reality of his world. Not paperwork and tax evasion. Blood and fear and brutality. She should look away, should be horrified, but she couldn't stop watching. Dante stood, rolling his shoulders. "Raven, come here." Every instinct said no, but she forced herself forward, stopping beside him. Up close, the bound man was young, mid-20s, with Moretti's crew tattoo on his neck. "This man works for Vincent Moretti," Dante explained conversationally. "He was placing tracking devices on my shipments." "Why would Moretti want to track my cargo?" She understood immediately. "To ambush it, steal it, learn your routes and schedules." "Excellent." He smiled at her, then turned back to his prisoner. "See? Even my assistant understands strategic thinking. So why did Moretti send someone so incompetent?" "I'm not—" The man's protest died when Dante pulled a knife from his jacket. "You're a message," Dante continued. "A test. Moretti wants to see how I respond to provocation." If I kill you, I escalate the war. If I let you go, I look weak. He turned the knife in his hand, light catching the blade. What do you think I should do, Raven? Horror and fascination warred in her chest. I think you should let him go. Surprise flickered across Dante's face. Why? Because killing him proves Moretti's point, that you're predictable. That he can manipulate you into reacting exactly how he expects. She forced herself to meet the prisoner's terrified gaze. But if you let him go with a message, you control the narrative. You look merciful, strong, in control. Dante stared at her for a long moment. Then he smiled, genuinely pleased. You see? This is why you're valuable. He crouched again, putting the knife away. You get to live. Tell Moretti that Dante Salvatore doesn't dance to his tune. Tell him if he wants a war, he should stop sending children and come himself. And tell him... His voice dropped to a whisper only the prisoner could hear. That the girl is off limits. She's mine. Anyone who touches her dies screaming. Understand? The man nodded frantically. Good. Marco, cut him loose and dump him at Moretti's club. Make sure everyone sees the bruises. Dante stood, took Raven's arm. We're done here. Back in the car, Raven's hands shook. The adrenaline crash hit her all at once. She'd just advised a Mafia boss on how to handle a prisoner. Had participated in, what? Psychological warfare? Mercy, both? Dante started the car but didn't drive. You're wondering if you did the right thing. I don't know what I did. You saved a life. That man would be in the Hudson right now if you hadn't spoken up. He put the car in gear. I told you before, I value loyalty and courage. You showed both today. Most people in my organization would have stayed silent. Let me handle it my way. You dared to suggest something different. Because I didn't want to watch you kill someone. And I respect that. They pulled onto the highway. But don't mistake my mercy for weakness, Raven. I let him go because you were there. Because you asked. If it had been just me, he'd be dead. Remember that. She stared out the window at the passing industrial landscape. Is this what being your assistant means? Watching you hurt people? No. It means understanding that sometimes violence is necessary. That in my world, showing weakness gets you killed. He reached over, took her hand. She should pull away. Didn't. But it also means I trust you. Trust your judgment. That's rare for me. Why? Because most people either fear me or want something from me. You just want to survive, and you're smart enough to do it. His thumb rubbed circles on her palm. You were right back there. Letting him go shows control. Moretti will be confused. Confusion is useful. They drove in silence for a while, his hand still holding hers. It should have felt wrong. Instead, it felt grounding. Real. My father died when I was 16, she heard herself say. Suicide. He'd gotten mixed up with loan sharks. Borrowed money he couldn't repay. They threatened him. Threatened us. He couldn't live with the fear. So he didn't. Dante's hand tightened on hers. I'm sorry. I swore I'd never be helpless like that again. Never let fear control me. That's why I learned to fight. Why I can't stand bullies. She looked at him. And why I'm terrified of you. I'm not your father's loan sharks. No, you're worse. Because they just wanted money. She pulled her hand free. You want me? Yes, no hesitation. No apology. I want you. But I'm not going to break you, Raven. I'm going to make you stronger. Teach you how to survive the wolves, so you never have to fear them again. Even if you're the biggest wolf? Especially then. Because if you can handle me, you can handle anything. He pulled up to the compound gates. Tonight we're having guests. Dinner at 8. You'll be there. Is that an order? It's an expectation. You're part of this now. People need to see you at my side. Need to understand you're under my protection. He parked, turned to face her fully. And wear the red dress. The one in your closet. It'll make a statement. What kind of statement? His smile was pure sin. That you're mine. The red dress fit like sin. Halter neckline, backless, slit to mid-thigh. Elegant but dangerous. Raven stared at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman looking back. She'd left her hair down in dark waves, applied minimal makeup, and felt simultaneously powerful and exposed. A knock. Dante entered without waiting for permission. Of course he did. He'd changed into a black suit and tie, looking like death in Armani. When he saw her, he stopped. Christo. The word was almost reverent. He crossed to her slowly, circling like a predator. You're going to start a war looking like that. Isn't there already a war? Fair point. He stopped behind her, their eyes meeting in the mirror. May I? She nodded, not trusting her voice. He produced a velvet box from his pocket, opened it to reveal a necklace. Diamonds and rubies that probably cost more than most cars. He fastened it around her throat, his fingers brushing her nape. Now everyone will know you're under Salvatore protection. These were my mother's. Raven touched the stones, shocked. I can't wear... You can. You will. His hands settled on her bare shoulders. Tonight you'll meet my captains, my allies, and possibly my enemies. They'll try to read you, understand why you matter to me. Don't explain, don't justify. Just be yourself, strong, fearless, impossible to ignore. I'm none of those things. You threw me out of a bar. His reflection smiled. You're all of those things. You just don't see it yet. He offered his arm. She took it. Together, they descended to the dining room where 24 people waited, men in suits, a few women in designer dresses, all watching with predatory interest as Dante Salvatore entered with an unknown woman on his arm. The message was clear. She belonged to him now, and God help anyone who forgot it. Dinner was a nightmare of political maneuvering disguised as polite conversation. Raven sat at Dante's right hand, the place of honor, while men whose names she struggled to remember discussed territories and percentages and barely veiled threats. The women assessed her with calculating eyes, trying to determine if she was a threat or an opportunity. Halfway through the third course, a woman in emerald green leaned forward. So, Miss Cole, how exactly did you meet Dante? The table went quiet. Raven set down her wine glass. I threw him out of the bar where I worked. Shocked silence. Then Dante's deep laugh broke the tension. She did. Quite literally. Had my consigliere on his ass in seconds. Why? Another captain, older with scars on his hands. Because he was being an asshole, Raven said simply. I don't tolerate bullies. More silence. Then the scarred captain smiled. I like her, boss. She's got balls. More than most of you, Dante agreed. His hand found Raven's under the table, squeezed. Support. Approval. The rest of dinner passed more easily. She fielded questions, deflected inappropriate ones, and watched the dynamics. These men respected Dante but feared him too. He ruled through strength, not love. It was a lonely kind of power. After dessert, as guests filtered onto the terrace for cigars and nightcaps, Dante pulled her aside into his study. The moment the door closed, his mask dropped. Exhaustion shadowed his eyes. You did well tonight. I felt like I was being interviewed by a firing squad. You were. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handed her one. They needed to see you. See that you're real, that you matter. He clinked his glass against hers. To surviving your first Mafia dinner party. She sipped, the whiskey burning. Is it always like that? Worse, usually. Tonight was tame. He moved to the window, staring out at his guests below. Being what I am means constant performance. Constant vigilance. One sign of weakness and they'll turn on me like sharks. Sounds exhausting. It is. He turned back to her, and for the first time, she saw past the armor to the man beneath. Tired, lonely, human. But tonight was easier. Having you there, knowing someone at that table didn't want something from me. I want my sister safe. That's not the same as wanting to use me. You negotiated honestly. I respect that. He set down his glass, approached her slowly. Thank you. For tonight, for not embarrassing me. Did you really think I would? I thought you might try to escape mid-dinner, or stab someone with a fish fork. His smile was genuine. The fact that you did neither shows remarkable restraint. The night's not over. He laughed. Real, unguarded. Then his expression shifted, heated. No, it's not. His hand came up, cupping her face. Tell me to stop. Stop what? This. He kissed her. This time it was different. Not claiming or conquering, asking. His lips moved over hers with devastating gentleness, tasting, exploring. When his tongue swept against hers, she opened for him, her hands fisting in his shirt. The whiskey glass fell from her grip, shattering on the floor. Neither noticed. Dante backed her against his desk, his body pressing against hers, hot and hard and perfect. His hands roamed her bare back, her sides, careful of the dress but promising everything. Dante. His name was a gasp against his lips. Say it again. He kissed down her jaw, her throat, her shoulder. Say my name like that. We shouldn't. Probably not. But he didn't stop. His teeth grazed her collarbone, sending electricity straight through her. Tell me to stop, Raven. Tell me you don't want this. She couldn't. Because she did want it. Wanted him. Despite every logical reason not to. Her body arched into his touch, shameless, desperate. I can't. Can't what? His hand slid up her thigh, fingertips brushing the slit in her dress. Can't tell you to stop. His groan was pure satisfaction. He claimed her mouth again, deeper, hungrier. The world narrowed to his hands, his lips, the solid heat of him against her. Nothing existed beyond this moment, until the door burst open. Marco stood in the doorway, his face grim. Boss, we have a problem. Dante pulled back immediately, his expression shifting from passion to lethal focus in a heartbeat. What problem? Moretti's men just hit our warehouse in Brooklyn. 4 casualties. They took the Salvatore shipment. And boss, he hesitated. They left a message. For her. Raven's blood turned to ice. What message? Marco held up his phone. The image showed the warehouse wall, spray-painted in red. Give us the girl or everyone dies. Dante's entire body went rigid. When he turned to her, his eyes were black with fury. Get her to the safe room now! Dante, don't argue! He grabbed her shoulders. This is what I warned you about. Moretti knows you matter to me. He's going to use you, and I will burn this entire city down before I let him touch you. 4 people died, and 4 more will die if you're not safe. He kissed her forehead, fierce and fast. Please, Bella. Go with Marco. Let me handle this. She wanted to argue, wanted to fight, but the terror in his eyes, terror for her, made her nod. As Marco hustled her from the room, she heard Dante on the phone, his voice cold as death. Mobilize everyone. I want Moretti found within the hour, and someone tell our police contacts to look the other way. Tonight, the rules are suspended. Anyone wearing Moretti colors is fair game. The war had begun, and she was the reason why. Chapter 5. Blood Oath. The safe room was exactly that, a reinforced bunker beneath the house, stocked with supplies, weapons, and enough surveillance equipment to monitor the entire compound. Marco sealed her inside with a grim, "Don't open this door for anyone but the boss," and left her alone with her fear. Raven paced the small space, still wearing the red dress and her mother's diamonds, feeling ridiculous and helpless. Above her, she could hear footsteps, shouting, vehicles arriving and departing, Dante mobilizing his army, 4 people dead. Because of her. She sank onto the cot in the corner, head in her hands. This was her fault. If she'd just stayed away that night, if she'd let Dante bully Danny without interfering. The monitor flickered. She looked up to see Dante on screen, standing in his office surrounded by armed men. He was giving orders, his face a mask of controlled violence. She couldn't hear the audio, but she didn't need to. The body language told her everything. He was going to war. Hours crawled past. Midnight came and went. On the monitors, she watched guards patrol, cars leave and return, lights flicker on and off throughout the compound. Once she saw a bloodied man being dragged through the garage. She looked away. At 3 a.m., the safe room door unlocked. Raven grabbed the Glock Marco had left her. She'd learned enough to know how to use it, and aimed at the entrance. Dante appeared, and she nearly dropped the gun in relief. He looked like hell. Blood splattered his shirt, not his, she hoped. His knuckles were split. A bruise darkened his jaw, but he was alive. It's over, he said simply. She set down the gun with shaking hands. What happened? I found Moretti's warehouse where he's been storing stolen cargo. Recovered our shipment. Sent him a message of my own. He moved into the room, closing the door behind him. 3 of his men are in the hospital. The rest are in the morgue. You killed them. I told you I would. No apology in his voice. They came after what's mine. That has consequences. And Moretti? Still breathing, barely. Dante's smile was savage. I wanted him alive so he could appreciate the full extent of his mistake. Tomorrow he'll wake up in his own bedroom, which I broke into, by the way, and find a knife embedded in his nightstand, inches from where his head was. The message is clear. I can reach him anywhere, anytime. She should be horrified, should condemn this violence, but all she felt was relief. Is it over? For now. He'll retaliate eventually, but tonight we won. He moved closer and she saw the exhaustion beneath the adrenaline. I'm sorry you were scared. I wasn't scared. I was angry. She stood, matching his gaze, angry that I'm the reason people died, angry that I'm helpless down here while you fight my battles. They're not your battles. They're mine. You just gave me something worth fighting for. His hand came up, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. And you're not helpless, Bella. You're the strongest person in this compound, because you chose to stay. I didn't have a choice. You always have a choice. Run, hide, betray me to Moretti for your freedom. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. But you're still here, still wearing my mother's diamonds, still looking at me like I'm human instead of a monster. Maybe you're both. Definitely both. He leaned in, resting his forehead against hers. I killed 6 men tonight. I'll kill 6 more tomorrow if they threaten you. Does that scare you? It should. No. Then you're as crazy as I am. He pulled back, studying her face. There's something I need to tell you. About why Moretti wants you so badly. Because he thinks I matter to you. That's part of it. But there's more. He moved to the monitors, pulling up a file. I had Marco dig into your background. Found something interesting about your father. Raven's stomach dropped. What about him? David Cole. Worked construction. Took out loans from Moretti's father 20 years ago. The loan sharks who drove him to suicide? They were Moretti operations. Dante turned to face her. Your father died because of Vincent Moretti. The room spun. What? Moretti knows this. Which means he knows you have a reason to hate him. But more importantly, he pulled up another file. Your father was one of our informants. No. She shook her head. That's not possible. He was just a construction worker who worked on buildings owned by both families, who saw things, heard things, and who started feeding information to my father before Moretti's father got to him. Dante's expression was gentle. I'm sorry, Raven, but your father was trying to bring Moretti down. That's why they targeted him, why they destroyed him. Tears burned her eyes. Her father, her weak, broken father who'd taken his own life, had been brave once. Had tried to fight back. Why didn't your father protect him? He did, or tried to. Gave him money, offered sanctuary. But your father refused, said he couldn't put his family in danger. Dante's voice softened. He loved you too much to let you become a target. So he died instead, hoping Moretti would leave you alone. But Moretti knows who I am. Now he does. Because I claimed you publicly, connected you to the Salvatore name. Which means he took a deep breath. Moretti thinks I'm trying to finish what your father started. Use you as a symbol. Rally people who hate him around David Cole's daughter. Understanding crashed over her. I'm not just leverage. I'm a threat. To him, yes. You represent his past mistakes coming back to haunt him. Dante gripped her shoulders. I should have told you sooner. Should have realized the connection. I put you in danger through ignorance. You didn't know. I should have. It's my job to know everything. His jaw clenched. But I was distracted. By you. By what you make me feel. I stopped thinking strategically and started thinking emotionally. That's dangerous in my business. She wiped her eyes, anger replacing shock. My father died trying to bring Moretti down. Yes. And Moretti killed 4 people tonight sending me a message. Yes. Then I want to help. The words came out fierce. I want to finish what my father started. Destroy Moretti. Dante's eyes widened. Raven, you said I'm part of this now, that I'm yours to protect. Fine. Then let me fight back. She grabbed his bloodied shirt. Teach me, use me, do whatever it takes, but I'm done being helpless. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then he smiled, dangerous, proud, hungry. You understand what you're asking? Once we do this, there's no going back. You'll be marked for life, a target. My enemies will always come for you. They already are. Fair point. He pulled her close, his arms banding around her. You're insane. Brave and insane. I learned from the best. He laughed against her hair. Then he pulled back, his expression serious. If we do this, we do it right. Legally and illegally. We build a case against Moretti that even his paid-off cops can't ignore. And when the law fails, and it will, we handle it my way. I can live with that. Can you? Because my way means blood. Means crossing lines you can't uncross. His hands framed her face. I need you to be sure. Because once you're in forever. Bonded to me and my family by blood and purpose. In my world, that's a marriage. A blood oath. Are you ready for that? She thought of her father, dying alone and afraid. Thought of the 4 people who died tonight because she existed. Thought of Dante, who killed without hesitation to protect her. Yes. Then say it. His eyes burned into hers. Say you're mine. That you choose this life, this war me. Say it and mean it. I'm yours. The words felt like jumping off a cliff. I choose this. Choose you. For better or worse. Worse, definitely. He kissed her. Hard. Claiming. Sealing the vow. You're mine now. Mine to protect, mine to avenge, mine to keep. And I'm yours. Whatever you need, whatever you want, you take from me. Understand? Yes. Good. He pulled back, reaching into his pocket. He produced a ring. Silver band with a black diamond, masculine and dangerous. This was my father's. He gave it to my mother as a promise. Death before dishonor. Love before life. Violence before vulnerability. He slid it onto her left ring finger. It fit perfectly. We're not married, she whispered. In my world, we just became more than married. We're bound. Blood oath sworn in a safe room at 3 a.m. with bodies cooling upstairs. His smile was dark. It's the most romantic thing I've ever done. Despite everything, the horror, the violence, the insanity, she laughed. You're insane, and you're mine. He kissed her again, slower this time, tasting. Come on, you need sleep. Tomorrow we start planning Moretti's downfall. He led her from the safe room, through the compound that smelled of gunpowder and blood, to his bedroom, not hers. The message was clear. No more separation. They were in this together now. His room was surprisingly Spartan. King bed, minimal furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the grounds. He disappeared into the bathroom, returning with a t-shirt and washcloth. Sit. She obeyed, perching on the edge of the bed. He knelt before her, gently removing her heels, then carefully cleaning the blood from his hands before touching her. When he was satisfied, he unfastened his mother's necklace, setting it reverently in its box. I meant what I said. You're part of my family now. That necklace, this ring, they're not just symbols. They're promises. He helped her out of the red dress, his touch clinical despite the intimacy, and pulled the t-shirt over her head. It smelled like him, cedar and leather and safety. What happens now? Now you sleep, I shower. Then I hold you until morning, because I need to feel you breathing to believe you're safe. He cupped her face. Is that okay? The vulnerability in his question undid her. This man who'd killed 6 people tonight was asking permission to hold her. Yes. When he emerged from the shower, wearing only sleep pants, she was already under the covers. He slid in beside her, pulling her against his chest. His heartbeat steady beneath her ear. Dante? Thank you for telling me about my father, for giving me a choice. You always have a choice with me, Bella. Even now you could walk away. I'd let you go. His arms tightened. It would destroy me, but I'd do it. I'm not going anywhere. Good, because I'm keeping you. He pressed a kiss to her hair. Sleep. Tomorrow the real work begins. She drifted off in his arms, wearing his ring, surrounded by his scent, and felt safer than she'd ever felt in her life, even though she was sleeping beside a killer, especially because she was sleeping beside a killer. Chapter 6. Claimed. Morning came with sunlight streaming through the windows and the smell of coffee. Raven woke alone in Dante's bed, the sheets beside her still warm. Voices drifted from somewhere in the house, male, urgent, discussing strategy. The ring on her finger caught the light. Black diamond, silver band, impossibly heavy. She twisted it, still not quite believing last night had happened. Blood oath, bound. His and knock preceded Sienna bursting through the door. Oh, thank God you're alive. Raven barely had time to sit up before her best friend tackled her in a hug. "Sienna, what are you doing here?" "Dante sent Marco to get me at dawn. Said you'd need friendly faces today." Sienna pulled back, her blue eyes worried. "Are you okay?" "I heard about the attack. The warehouse. God, Raven, I thought, I'm fine. I was in the safe room." She squeezed her friend's hands. "Are you okay? Did anyone threaten you?" "No. Dante had guards on me since the first night. I didn't even know until Marco explained." Sienna noticed the ring, gasped. Are you, oh my God, did he force you to?" "No, nothing like that." How could she explain? "It's complicated. Complicated like I'm a prisoner, or complicated like I'm actually falling for my captor?" "Both, neither. I made a choice, to stay, to fight back against the people who killed my father." She met Sienna's gaze. "Vincent Moretti's father is the reason Dad died. Dante told me everything, and I decided I want revenge." Sienna's expression shifted from worry to understanding. "Oh, honey, I know it's crazy. I know I should run. But Sienna," she looked at the ring again. "I can't. I'm in too deep now, and part of me doesn't want out. Because of him. Because of a lot of things." She stood, moving to the window. Outside, Dante stood with his captains, gesturing as he spoke. Even from this distance, his authority was evident. He's a monster. But he's honest about it. And when he looks at me, I don't feel like David Cole's broken daughter. I feel like someone worth protecting, worth fighting for. That's Stockholm Syndrome talking. Maybe. Raven turned to face her friend. Or maybe it's just the first time in my life someone powerful chose to use their power to protect me instead of hurt me. Either way, I'm staying. But I need you to go. Get out of the city. Go visit your parents in California. Stay away until this is over. Absolutely not. Sienna, you're my best friend. You think I'm running while you're in danger?" Sienna stood, crossing her arms. "Besides, Dante already offered me a job, coordinating his legitimate businesses. Good pay, benefits, and apparently it's safer here than out there right now." "He what?" "Made me an offer I couldn't refuse." Sienna grinned. His words. "I start Monday, so you're stuck with me, babe." Before Raven could respond, Dante appeared in the doorway. He'd changed into black jeans and a Henley, his hair still damp from a shower. His eyes found her immediately, warming. "Good. You're awake." He nodded to Sienna. "Give us a moment?" "Sure. I'll just go explore this palace." Sienna squeezed Raven's hand and left. Alone, Dante crossed to Raven, pulling her into his arms. "How'd you sleep?" "Better than I should have, considering." "Good." He kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips. Quick, affectionate touches that felt strangely domestic. "I have news. Moretti's holed up in his downtown penthouse, surrounded by security. He's scared. Good. Agreed. But it means we can't get to him directly, so we go after his operation instead." He pulled out his phone, showing her files. "These are his businesses. Restaurants, clubs, construction companies. All fronts for money laundering. I've been building a case for months with a federal prosecutor who isn't on his payroll. But I need proof. Hard evidence." "What kind of evidence?" "Financial records, recordings of incriminating conversations, testimony from people he's wronged." His eyes gleamed. "Your father kept notes. Everything he saw, everything he heard. My father kept them after David died. They're in my safe. Between those notes and new evidence, we can destroy him." Raven's heart raced. "My father's notes? I want to see them. I know. Come on." He led her to his office, Sienna trailing behind. The safe was hidden behind a painting. Of course it was. Inside, among stacks of cash and legal documents, was a worn notebook. Raven took it with shaking hands. Her father's handwriting. Dates, times, observations about shipments and payoffs and violence. He'd been meticulous, documenting everything. On the last page, dated 3 days before his death, a final entry. "They know. Moretti's men came to the site today. Threatened my girls if I talk. I can't let them hurt my babies. If anything happens to me, give this to Salvatore. Make them pay. Tell Raven I love her. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough." Tears blurred her vision. Sienna wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Dante stood silent, giving her space to grieve. "He was strong," Raven whispered. "He tried to fight. He was brave," Dante agreed quietly. "And his sacrifice wasn't wasted. We're going to use this. Honor his memory by finishing what he started." She closed the notebook, resolve hardening in her chest. What do you need me to do? Moretti owns a club called Inferno. Upscale, exclusive, legitimate on the surface. But the VIP level is where he conducts business. Meetings with dirty cops, politicians, other criminals. If we can get inside, plant surveillance, we can gather evidence. He pulled up photos on his tablet. The problem is security. Metal detectors, facial recognition, invitation-only access. So we need an invitation, Sienna said. Exactly. Which is where you come in, Raven. Dante turned the tablet to show a flyer. Inferno is hosting a charity gala next week. Black tie, $5,000 a plate, all proceeds going to, ironically, families of crime victims. Moretti loves the optics. Makes him look legitimate. You want me to go to his gala? I want us to go. As a couple, you wearing the Salvatore name, my ring, making it clear you're under my protection. His jaw clenched. It's risky. He'll know we're there, but he won't make a move in public. Too many witnesses, and while we're playing nice, Marco and my tech team will be planting bugs in his VIP rooms. It's a good plan, Sienna said, but Raven needs training. If something goes wrong, she needs to defend herself. Already arranged. Combat training intensifies starting today. By next week, she'll be able to handle any threat. Dante's hand found Raven's. But I won't let anything happen to you. I'll be at your side the entire time. Raven looked at her father's notebook, then at Dante. Let's do it. Let's take him down. The week passed in a blur of preparation. Every morning, Marco trained her in hand-to-hand combat. Real violence, not sport. Afternoons, she studied Moretti's operation, memorizing faces and names. Evenings, Dante coached her on how to move through high society, what to say, how to deflect questions. And every night, she slept in his arms. They didn't have sex, though God knew the tension was there, crackling between them every time they touched. But Dante seemed determined to take things slow, to let her adjust to her new reality. He kissed her breathless, touched her until she gasped, but always stopped before crossing that final line. Why? She asked one night, frustrated and aching after he'd brought her to the edge again before pulling back. Because when I have you, and I will, I want you desperate for it. Begging. Certain. He kissed her neck. I want you to choose me with full knowledge of what you're choosing. And right now, with the gala coming, with the danger, I don't know if you're thinking clearly or just caught up in adrenaline. I want you. I know. I can feel how much. His hand slid lower, proving his point. But I'm patient, Bella. And when we finally come together, it'll be worth the wait. I promise. By the night of the gala, Raven was wound so tight she could barely breathe. The dress Dante had chosen was black silk, elegant and dangerous, with a neckline that plunged and a back that didn't exist. She wore his mother's diamonds again, and the black diamond ring that marked her as his. When she descended the stairs, Dante stopped mid-conversation with Marco, his eyes darkening with hunger. He wore a black tux that made him look like a gorgeous nightmare. Cristo Santo, he breathed. You're going to get me killed looking like that. That's the plan. He laughed, meeting her at the bottom of the stairs. Ready? No, but let's go anyway. The drive to Manhattan was tense. Dante held her hand the entire way, his thumb tracing patterns on her palm. At Inferno's entrance, paparazzi swarmed. Apparently, celebrity criminals were still celebrities. Dante shielded her from the cameras, his hand possessive on her waist. Inside, the club was opulent. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, beautiful people in expensive clothes pretending they weren't rubbing elbows with the criminal elite. Raven recognized politicians, actors, socialites, and criminals. So many criminals, dressed in Armani and exchanging pleasantries while mentally calculating who to kill first. Salvatore. The voice was smooth, cultured, and venomous. How bold of you to show up. Vincent Moretti emerged from the crowd like a shark through water. He was handsome in a cold way, mid-40s, silver at his temples, expensive suit. But his eyes were dead. Killer's eyes. Dante's arm tightened around Raven. Moretti, lovely party, though I'm surprised you're still walking after our last conversation. Surprised you brought a date. Does she know how many men you killed last week? Moretti's gaze slid to Raven, assessing. Forgive me. I don't believe we've been introduced. We haven't. Raven forced herself to meet his gaze. And we won't be. I don't associate with the kind of filth that destroys families for profit. Moretti's expression froze. Around them, conversations died. Dante's hand flexed on her waist, warning or approval, she wasn't sure. Careful, sweetheart. You're in my house now. Moretti's smile was arctic. Accidents happen. Is that a threat? Dante's voice dropped to lethal softness. Because threatening what's mine tends to end poorly for people. Just a friendly warning. Moretti's eyes never left Raven. She looks familiar. Have we met before? This was it. The moment of truth. Raven lifted her chin. My father was David Cole. You had him killed 20 years ago. So no, we've never met, but I know exactly who you are. The shock on Moretti's face was gratifying. He recovered quickly, but not before she saw it. Recognition, calculation, fear. David Cole, the construction worker. I'd forgotten about him. I haven't. She stepped forward, out of Dante's protective hold. And I'm going to make sure you remember him. Right before everything you've built comes crashing down. Moretti's hand twitched toward his jacket. Instantly, Dante was between them, his presence a wall of lethal intent. Touch your weapon and you die before it clears leather. In front of all these nice people. Bad for business, Vincent. Moretti's hand dropped, but his smile was vicious. Enjoy the party, Salvatore. Both of you. While you can, he disappeared into the crowd. Dante pulled Raven close, his heart hammering beneath her hand. That was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Both, probably. Definitely both. He kissed her hard, claiming her in front of everyone. When he pulled back, his eyes blazed. You're magnificent. Insane, but magnificent. Now let's finish this. They worked the room, playing their parts. Dante, the charming criminal. Raven, the mystery woman who'd captured Il Diavolo's attention. While they distracted and deflected, Marco and his team moved through the VIP levels, planting surveillance. It was working. Everything was going according to plan until the lights went out. Chaos erupted. Screaming, shoving, the sound of breaking glass. Raven felt Dante's arm around her waist, pulling her close. Stay with me, he growled. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in red. And in that crimson glow, Raven saw them. Moretti's men, moving through the crowd with purpose, heading straight for them. Dante, I see them. He pulled her toward the exit. Marco, extraction now. But more men blocked the doors. They were surrounded, trapped. Moretti's voice came over the sound system. Leaving so soon, Salvatore? But we haven't even served dessert. And I have such a special treat planned, especially for your lovely date. Dante's hand found hers. Whatever happens, stay behind me. Understand? No. She reached beneath her dress, pulling the small pistol Marco had hidden there. We fight together, remember? Blood oath. His expression shifted. Fear, pride, love, all tangled together. You're going to be the death of me. Not tonight. She checked her weapon, adrenaline singing through her veins. Tonight we survive. Around them, Dante's own men emerged from the crowd. He'd brought backup, of course he had. But Moretti had the numbers. What should have been an elegant evening had become a battlefield, and Raven Cole, waitress turned Mafia queen, prepared to fight for her life, just like her father had. But this time, the ending would be different. This time, they would win. Chapter 7. Vendetta. The first shot shattered the crystal chandelier. Dante moved like lightning, shoving Raven behind a marble pillar as bullets tore through the space they'd occupied. Screaming civilians stampeded for the exits, trampling each other in their panic. The elegant gala dissolved into carnage in seconds. Stay down. Dante returned fire, his aim precise even in the chaos. Two of Moretti's men dropped. Marco, clear a path to the east exit. But Marco was pinned down across the room, trading shots with three of Moretti's enforcers. Dante's other men were scattered, outnumbered. This wasn't a simple ambush. It was an execution. Moretti had planned this. Invited them here to die. Raven's hand shook, but her mind was clear. 3 years of fighting had taught her one thing. Panic kills you. She peered around the pillar, assessing. 5 enemies between them and the nearest exit. More flooding in from the VIP level. Dante's gun would run empty soon. They needed an advantage. Her eyes landed on the bar, 20 feet away, fully stocked with alcohol. Flammable alcohol, Dante? The bar. He understood immediately. You're insane. You've mentioned that. She checked her pistol. 6 rounds left. Cover me. Raven, no. But she was already moving, keeping low, using the panicked crowd as cover. Bullets whizzed past her head. Someone screamed. She felt concrete dust shower her as a shot impacted inches from her skull. But she reached the bar, diving behind it as gunfire chewed up the woodwork. Bottles of top-shelf liquor surrounded her. Vodka, rum, grain alcohol, all beautifully flammable. She grabbed bottles, smashing them on the floor, soaking the area. The fumes made her eyes water. Get ready to run, she shouted to Dante. She lit a bar napkin with a dropped lighter, tossed it onto the alcohol-soaked floor, and ran. The fireball erupted behind her, a wall of flame that separated them from half of Moretti's men. Sprinklers activated, but too late. The fire spread fast, feeding on the alcohol. Smoke filled the space. Dante caught her, pulling her toward the exit. That was the most reckless. It worked, didn't it? They burst through the emergency exit into a service corridor, Marco and 3 other men right behind them. But they weren't safe yet. Footsteps echoed ahead, more of Moretti's crew cutting off their escape. Trap, Marco gasped. He's funneling us. Dante's jaw clenched. Then we go through them. Raven, center of the formation. Don't stop moving. I can fight. You can also be smart. We need you alive, not brave and dead. He checked his clip. Empty. Marco tossed him a fresh magazine. On my mark. 3, 2, 1. They charged forward in a tight unit, Dante leading. The corridor erupted in gunfire. Raven felt bullets pass so close they stirred her hair. One of Dante's men went down screaming, then another. But Dante was relentless, advancing through the fire like death incarnate. His shots were surgical. Headshots, center mass, nothing wasted. Bodies dropped. The survivors scattered. They burst out into the parking garage, the Manhattan night air shockingly cold after the inferno inside. Dante's Escalade waited, engine running, but between them and freedom stood Vincent Moretti himself, flanked by a dozen armed men. Going somewhere? Moretti's smile was vicious. He held a detonator in one hand. You burned down my club, Salvatore. Made me look weak in front of everyone. That has consequences. You tried to kill us, Dante snarled. And I'll succeed. Just wanted to look you in the eyes when I do it. Moretti's gaze shifted to Raven. You especially, Miss Cole. Your father died screaming, you know. Begged for his life. Pathetic. Rage whited out Raven's vision. She raised her pistol, aiming at Moretti's head. You're lying, am I? His smile widened. I was there. Watched my father put the fear in him. Watched him break. That's what Coles do. They break. Raven, don't, Dante warned, but she fired. The bullet caught Moretti in the shoulder, spinning him. The detonator flew from his hand, skittering across the concrete. His men opened fire immediately. Dante tackled Raven, covering her body with his as bullets ripped through the air. Marco dove for the detonator. A Moretti enforcer kicked it away. They grappled, fighting for control of the device that would blow them all to hell. Dante dragged Raven toward the Escalade, returning fire with his free hand. Get in the car. Not without you! Stubborn woman. He shoved her into the back seat, then laid down covering fire. Marco, move. Marco headbutted his opponent, grabbed the detonator and ran. They piled into the Escalade, tires screeching as the driver floored it. Behind them, Moretti's men gave chase in 3 vehicles. He rigged the building. Marco gasped, holding up the detonator. Explosives throughout the structure. He was going to blow it with us inside. He still might. Dante looked back at Inferno. People were still evacuating, stumbling out of the smoke-filled club. If he has a backup trigger, the explosion lit up the night sky. Inferno detonated in a fireball visible from Jersey. The shockwave rocked their vehicle. Raven looked back to see the entire building collapsing, flames reaching toward the stars. People scattered like ants. Emergency sirens wailed. Oh my God. She pressed her hand to the window. All those people are Moretti's problem now. Dante's voice was ice. He just murdered dozens of civilians to get to us. The police, the feds, the media, they'll all come for him. This is the beginning of the end. But his hands shook as he checked her for injuries. Are you hurt? No, you? Bruised. Nothing serious. He pulled her close, pressing his face into her hair. You shot him. Actually shot him. He said my father begged. He was trying to provoke you, get you to do something stupid. Dante pulled back, gripping her shoulders. But you hit him. First time anyone's shot Vincent Moretti and lived to tell about it. He's not dead? Shoulder wound. He'll live. Marco turned from the front seat, grinning despite the blood on his face. Boss, she's a natural. No hesitation, clean shot, tactical awareness. She almost got herself killed, Dante snapped, but she didn't. And we got the surveillance planted before everything went to hell. Marco held up a tablet. Audio and video bugs in 3 VIP rooms. Whatever Moretti says in those rooms, we'll hear it. Dante stared at the device, then laughed, borderline hysterical. We did it. We actually got the bugs planted. Plus I burned down his club and shot him, Raven added. Productive evening. You're both insane, Dante muttered. But he kissed her, hard, possessive, grateful. When we get home, I'm locking you in the safe room and never letting you out. Like hell you are. Watch me. They drove through the night, leaving the inferno behind. Police vehicles screamed past them toward the explosion. News helicopters circled overhead. By morning, the story would dominate every channel. Inferno nightclub destroyed, dozens injured, owner Vincent Moretti reportedly wounded. And somewhere in the chaos, surveillance devices waited to capture the evidence that would destroy him forever. But first, they had to survive his retaliation. Back at the compound, Dante's entire operation mobilized. Guards tripled, perimeter expanded, every entrance fortified. They were preparing for war. Dante paced his office like a caged animal, shirt blood-stained, knuckles raw. Raven watched him from the doorway, her elegant dress torn and smoke-damaged. They'd both showered, changed into tactical clothing, she in black cargo pants and a fitted tank, he in similar gear. You're angry, she observed. I'm furious. He whirled to face her. You could have died. 1 inch to the left and that bullet would have taken your head off. If I hadn't tackled you when I did. His voice broke. Don't ever do that again. Do what? Fight back? Take unnecessary risks. Shooting the man who killed my father wasn't unnecessary. She crossed to him, refusing to be intimidated. You said I was yours. That we were bound. That means I fight beside you, not behind you. It means I protect you. And I protect you. She shoved his chest. You don't get to make me care about you, and then ask me to watch from the sidelines while you risk your life. That's not how this works. You don't know how this works. Then teach me. She shoved him again. You made me part of your world. Gave me your mother's ring. Told me we were bonded. You don't get to take that back when it gets dangerous. Dante grabbed her wrists, pulling her close. I'm not trying to take it back. I'm trying to keep you alive. Then trust me to keep myself alive. She met his wild gaze. I'm not some delicate thing that breaks. I survived my father's suicide, years of poverty, underground cage fights, and your world. I'm stronger than you think. I know how strong you are. That's what terrifies me. His grip gentled, his thumb stroking her wrists. Because strong people think they're invincible. And then they die. And I can't... He rested his forehead against hers. I can't lose you, not now. Not when I just found you. The vulnerability in his voice shattered her anger. You won't lose me. You can't promise that. Neither can you. But we're in this together, for better or worse. Remember? She pulled one hand free, touching his face. I'm not going anywhere, Dante. You're stuck with me. He kissed her then, desperate, claiming, pouring everything he couldn't say into the press of his lips. She kissed back with equal intensity, fingers tangling in his hair. The adrenaline from the night, the fear, the relief, it all coalesced into raw need. Dante backed her against his desk, his hands everywhere, her waist, her hips, sliding up under her tank top to touch bare skin. She gasped into his mouth, arching into his touch. This was different from before. More urgent, more real. Dante, tell me to stop. His teeth grazed her neck. Tell me you don't want this. I want this. Want you. Her nails raked down his back. Don't stop, he groaned, lifting her onto the desk, stepping between her thighs. I wanted to wait. Make it special. But seeing you tonight, so fierce and brave and mine, he captured her mouth again. I need you, Raven. Need to claim every part of you. Need to know you're real and alive and here? Then take me. She wrapped her legs around his waist, pulling him closer. I'm yours, completely. A knock on the door froze them both. Boss! Marco's urgent voice. We have a problem. Dante dropped his head to her shoulder, cursing in Italian. This better be life or death. It is. Moretti just went live on social media. You need to see this. They straightened their clothes, trying to look professional instead of seconds away from consummating their bond. Marco entered with a tablet, his expression grim. On screen, Vincent Moretti sat in what looked like a hospital room, his shoulder bandaged, his face pale but determined. Behind him stood his top enforcers, all armed. This message is for Dante Salvatore, Moretti said to the camera. You came to my establishment, destroyed my property, shot me, killed my men, and you used David Cole's daughter to do it. That's a declaration of war I'm happy to accept. He leaned closer to the camera, his eyes dead and cold. I'm offering a bounty, $5 million to anyone who brings me Raven Cole, alive. I want to look her in the eyes while I take everything from her, just like her father. And Salvatore, when I'm done breaking her, I'll send you the pieces, one by one. The video ended. The room went silent. Then Dante smiled, a terrible, savage thing. He just made a fatal mistake. How? Raven's voice shook despite her efforts to control it. He went public. Put a price on your head in front of the world. Dante took the tablet, already typing. Which means the feds can't ignore this. Public death threats, terrorism charges. He just gave us everything we need to destroy him legally. And illegally? Marco asked. Illegally, he declared open war. Dante's smile widened. Which means all agreements are void. All truces dissolved. Every family that stayed neutral now has to pick a side. He looked at his consigliere. Call our allies. Tell them Moretti just signed his death warrant. And tell them the Salvatore family is offering our own bounty. $10 million to anyone who brings me Vincent Moretti. Alive. Because when I finally get my hands on him... He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Raven touched his arm. This is escalating fast. Good. Fast means it ends soon. One way or another. He cupped her face. I need you to trust me. Can you do that? She thought of her father, of the notebook, of everything that had led to this moment. Yes. Then let me protect you. Let me finish this. His thumb brushed her lips. And when it's over, when Moretti's dead or in prison and you're finally safe, I'm going to marry you. Properly. In a church, with witnesses, legally, and in every way that matters. Because you're mine, Raven Cole. And I take care of what's mine. Is that a proposal? It's a promise. He kissed her softly. Now go, get some rest. Tomorrow we prepare for war. As she left, escorted by guards to the safe room, Raven touched the ring on her finger and realized something terrifying. She didn't just care about Dante Salvatore. She loved him. The monster with gentle hands. The killer who made her feel safe. The man who'd burn the world for her. And God help them both, because loving him meant joining his war. A war that would end in blood. Chapter 8. Broken. The attack came at dawn. Raven woke to explosions rocking the compound, alarms screaming, and Dante's voice barking orders through the intercom. Everyone to defensive positions. They're breaching the east wall. She grabbed the Glock from her nightstand. She'd insisted on sleeping armed, and ran to the hallway. Guards rushed past, weapons drawn. Through the windows, she saw flames licking the sky. Marco appeared, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. Safe room, now! Where's Dante? Fighting, go! But she couldn't, not while he was out there. She followed Marco instead, keeping low as they moved through the compound. Gunfire echoed from outside, controlled 3-round bursts from Dante's men, wild automatic spray from the attackers. They reached the armory. Dante stood inside, strapping on body armor, barking orders into his phone. When he saw Raven, his expression shifted from tactical to furious. I told you to. I'm not hiding while you fight. She grabbed a vest. Either armor me or get out of my way. For a moment, she thought he'd drag her to the safe room himself. Then he cursed, yanking her close. You're going to give me a heart attack. Get in line. She kissed him hard. Now tell me what's happening. Moretti hired every gun for hire in New York. 50 men, maybe more, hitting us from 3 directions. He secured her armor, checking every strap twice. The bounty made you the most valuable target in the city. Every mercenary, bounty hunter, and desperate fool wants that 5 million. So we're outnumbered. Severely. But we have better position, better training, and home advantage. He pulled her to the command center, a room filled with monitors showing every angle of the compound. They'll try to breach, grab you, and run. We can't let them get inside. On screen, she watched Dante's men hold the perimeter. They were well-trained, disciplined, but the sheer number of attackers was overwhelming. For every invader they dropped, 2 more appeared. They're mercenaries, Marco said, studying the screens. No loyalty, no coordination, just guns and greed. If we can break their momentum. An explosion ripped through the north gate. The screens went white, then dark. When they cleared, armed men poured through the breach like ants. They're inside, Dante growled. He grabbed an assault rifle, checked the magazine. Marco, take the west wing. I'll hold the main floor. Raven? He turned to her, something raw and desperate in his eyes. Please, go to the safe room. Let me protect you. No. She chambered a round in her pistol. We fight together. You said I was yours. That means you're mine too. And I don't abandon what's mine. His jaw clenched. Then he nodded once. Stay behind me. Don't take unnecessary risks. And if I tell you to run, you run. Deal? Deal. They moved through the compound like a unit, Dante leading, Raven covering their 6, 2 guards flanking. The main floor had become a battlefield. Furniture overturned for cover, bullet holes stitching the walls, broken glass everywhere. A mercenary rounded the corner. Dante dropped him with 2 shots. Another appeared on the balcony above. Raven fired, her bullet catching him in the chest. He tumbled over the railing, hitting the marble floor with a sickening crunch. Good shot, Dante muttered. They cleared room by room, engaging hostiles, falling back when necessary. Raven's hands stayed steady, her aim true. 3 years of cage fighting had taught her to operate under pressure. Every shot she fired was controlled, precise. But there were so many. Too many. They retreated to Dante's office, barricading the door. Outside, footsteps thundered, voices shouted orders. The mercenaries were regrouping, preparing for a coordinated assault. Dante checked his ammunition. I'm down to 2 magazines. Same. Raven reloaded, her hands mechanical. How long until reinforcements arrive? Our allied families are mobilizing, but it'll take time. We need to hold for another 30 minutes. He moved to the window, assessing. Or we need to do something drastic. Like what? His eyes gleamed with dangerous inspiration. Like I go out there, draw them toward me, while you escape through the underground tunnel? Absolutely not. Raven, you're not sacrificing yourself. She grabbed his arm. We survive together or not at all. That was the deal. There's no other way. The door exploded inward. Flash grenades rolled into the room. Raven squeezed her eyes shut, but the concussive blast still disoriented her. Strong hands grabbed her, yanking her backward. She fought, kicking, biting, but there were too many. Through the chaos, she heard Dante roaring her name. Heard gunfire. Then something struck her head, and darkness swallowed her whole. She woke in a moving vehicle, her head pounding, hands zip-tied behind her back. The trunk was dark, cramped, smelling of oil and fear. She tested her bonds, tight, professional. No give. Think. Marco had taught her this. Zip ties can be broken if you know how. She curled her body, bringing her hands under her legs until they were in front. Found the trunk release, disabled, of course. Felt around for anything sharp. Her fingers brushed metal. A tire iron. Not ideal, but better than nothing. The vehicle stopped. Voices outside, rough, celebrating. 5 million, boys. We're all rich. The trunk opened. 3 men stared down at her, all armed. One reached for her. She swung the tire iron with everything she had, catching him across the jaw. He went down hard. The others reacted, but she was already moving, rolling out of the trunk, still swinging. The tire iron connected with a kneecap. Someone screamed. She ran. They were in an industrial area, warehouses and shipping containers. Dawn painted the sky gray. She didn't know where she was. Didn't know if Dante was alive. Didn't know anything except she had to keep moving. Bullets chipped the concrete behind her. She dove behind a shipping container, breathing hard. 3 men against 1 unarmed woman with tied hands. Bad odds. But she'd fought worse. She used the tire iron to saw at the zip ties, ignoring the pain as plastic cut into her wrists. They finally snapped. Blood ran down her hands, but she was free. The men spread out, hunting her. She heard their footsteps, their casual confidence. "Come out, sweetheart. Make this easy on yourself." Easy. Nothing about this was easy. She waited until one passed close, then struck, tire iron to the temple. He dropped. His gun skittered away. She grabbed it, checked the magazine. "Half full, 2 left, she got Jimmy!" One shouted. "So? There's still 2 of us. She's just some girl." Rage burned through Raven's fear. Just some girl. Her father had been just some construction worker. She'd been just some waitress. But together they'd dared to fight back. And she wasn't done fighting. She stepped out from behind the container. "Come get me," they charged. Stupid, overconfident, she fired twice. Both went down, one in the leg, one in the shoulder. Non-lethal shots because she wasn't a killer. Not yet. Not unless she had to be. She secured their weapons, used their phones to call the compound. Marco answered on the first ring. "Raven? Oh, thank Christ. Where are you?" "I don't know." "Industrial area. Shipping containers. I escaped the mercenaries who grabbed me." Her voice shook despite her efforts to control it. "Is Dante alive?" "He's static. Coming for you. Hold your position." The line went dead. She looked around the empty industrial wasteland, armed with stolen guns and fading adrenaline, and realized how alone she was. Minutes passed. Hours. She couldn't tell. She held her position, weapon ready, watching every shadow. Then she heard it. Engines. Multiple vehicles converging on her location. Please be Dante. Please be Dante. Please. The first SUV that rounded the corner wasn't Dante's. It was Moretti's. Vincent Moretti stepped out, his wounded shoulder bandaged but his smile vicious. Well. The little bird flew the nest only to land in my hands anyway. How convenient. Raven raised her weapon. "Stay back. Or what? You'll shoot me again?" He laughed. "Go ahead. My men will cut you down before my body hits the ground. But I'd rather you alive. More fun that way." His men surrounded her. Too many to fight, too well armed to resist. She was out of options. Out of luck. Out of time. "Drop the gun, Miss Cole, or I'll have my men start shooting random civilians until you comply. Your choice. Your pride or innocent lives." She dropped the gun. Moretti's smile widened. "Smart girl. Just like your father. Right up until he wasn't." They grabbed her, dragging her toward the SUV. She fought anyway, kicking, screaming, refusing to make it easy. A fist connected with her stomach. She doubled over, gasping. "Careful," Moretti warned his men. "I want her conscious. She needs to be awake for what comes next." They threw her in the vehicle. As it pulled away, she saw another car arrive in the distance. Dante's Escalade. Too late. Always too late. Through the rear window, she watched him exit the vehicle, saw him fall to his knees as he realized what had happened. She'd been taken, and Dante had lost the one thing he'd sworn to protect. The look on his face, devastation, rage, grief, would haunt her forever, if she lived long enough to have a forever. Chapter 9. Ashes and Fury. They took her to Moretti's backup facility, a warehouse in Red Hook that smelled of rust and death. He'd planned this meticulously, prepared for every contingency. The room they locked her in was windowless, soundproof, with a single chair bolted to the floor. Interrogation room. Torture chamber. Tomb. Moretti entered an hour later, pulling up a chair opposite her. His shoulder was clearly paining him, but his smile never wavered. "Comfortable?" Raven didn't respond. She'd learned in the cage fights, never show weakness, never give them what they want. Strong, silent type. "I respect that." He leaned back. "Your father was chatty. Begged, cried, offered me everything he had, which was nothing, of course. Just like you. My father was brave. He fought you." He was a coward who killed himself rather than face consequences. Moretti's eyes glittered. But you? You're different. You've got fire. I can see why Salvatore wants you. You're exactly his type. Stubborn, reckless, self-destructive. What do you want? Want? I want to hurt Dante Salvatore in ways he can't recover from. And the best way to do that is through you. He stood, circling her. See, killing you would be mercy. Quick, clean, over. But breaking you, destroying everything that makes you strong, that's art. You're insane. I'm practical. He pulled out his phone, queued up a video, and showed her. The screen displayed Dante, bound and bloodied, in what looked like another warehouse. He was alive but barely, his face swollen, his body covered in burns and cuts. Around him, Moretti's men worked methodically, professionally. He's being tortured, Moretti explained conversationally. Has been for the past hour. Every scream, every plea for mercy. I've recorded it all. Want to hear? No. But her voice broke on the word. Too bad. He played audio. Dante's screams filled the room. Guttural, agonized, inhuman sounds that ripped through Raven's chest like knives. She tried to block it out, tried to think of anything else. But the sounds burrowed into her brain. Stop. Please stop. Moretti paused the recording. Interesting. You'll beg for him, but not for yourself. True love, I suppose. How touching. I'll kill you. The words came out flat, emotionless. A promise, not a threat. Many have tried. All have failed. He pocketed the phone. But I'm feeling generous. I'll make you a deal. You tell me everything Salvatore has planned. Every ally, every safe house, every weakness, and I'll make his death quick, painless. And I'll let you watch, so you know he didn't suffer because of your silence. Go to hell. Wrong answer. He moved to the door. I'll give you an hour to reconsider. Think about it. Think about him, screaming in agony, while you sit here with the power to end his suffering. All you have to do is talk. He left. The lock clicked. Raven was alone with the echoes of Dante's screams and the weight of an impossible choice. Time lost meaning in that windowless room. It could have been hours or days. Periodically, someone would enter, Moretti or one of his enforcers, and show her new videos of Dante's torture. Each one worse than the last. They were breaking her systematically, professionally. And it was working. Just tell him something, one guard said almost kindly. Anything. Make it stop. But she couldn't, because Dante had trusted her, given her access to his empire, his secrets, his vulnerabilities. Betraying him meant betraying everyone under his protection. Marco, Sienna, all the families allied with Salvatore, and her father, who died rather than betray his principles. She had to be strong. The door crashed open. Not Moretti this time. A figure in tactical gear, face hidden by a mask, moving with lethal efficiency. He shot the guard outside, then entered the room. For a moment, Raven thought it was Dante. Same build, same movements, but when he removed the mask, it was Marco, his face grim. We're getting you out of here. Dante is leading the assault on the front entrance. Drawing Moretti's attention, he cut her restraints. Can you walk? I can run. She stood, wobbly but determined. The videos of him being tortured? Fake. Makeup and acting. We've known where you were since they took you. Had to wait for the right moment to extract you. He handed her a weapon. Moretti thinks he has all the cards. He's about to learn otherwise. They moved through the warehouse, avoiding patrols, working toward the exit. But they weren't moving away from the fighting. They were moving toward it. Where are we going? To end this, tonight, one way or another. Marco kicked open a door. The warehouse opened into a massive loading bay. And there, in the center, stood Dante Salvatore and Vincent Moretti, circling each other like wolves. Both were armed. Both were bloodied. Both were done playing games. Raven! Dante's eyes found her, relief and rage warring in his expression. Get her out of here! No chance, she called back. We finish this together. Moretti laughed. How touching. The lovers reunited. Too bad it's just in time to watch each other die. He raised his weapon. Dante moved faster, tackling him. They crashed to the ground, grappling for control. The gun skittered away. Around them, their respective forces engaged. Salvatore men against Moretti mercenaries, a final battle for dominance. Raven started forward, but Marco grabbed her arm. Let him finish it. This is between them now. She watched, helpless, as Dante and Moretti fought. It was brutal, vicious. Two apex predators trying to kill each other. Moretti was older but crafty. Dante was younger but injured from the compound assault. They were evenly matched, until Moretti pulled a knife. It happened so fast, the blade flashing, Dante twisting, red blooming across his side. He stumbled, and Moretti pressed the advantage, driving him backward toward the edge of the loading dock. A 15-foot drop to concrete below. This ends now, Salvatore. Moretti raised the knife for a killing blow. Raven moved without thinking. She'd been a fighter long before she'd been a Mafia queen. Her body knew what to do even when her mind froze. She threw her weapon, not at Moretti, but at Dante. He caught it mid-air, brought it up, and fired. 3 shots center mass. Moretti stumbled backward, shock written across his face. You, he gasped. You can't. I already did. Dante's voice was cold as death. You came after my family, my woman, my home. Did you really think I'd let you live? Moretti fell, his body hitting the concrete with a final, terminal thud. Silence descended. The fighting stopped as both sides realized their leader was down. Moretti's men, mercenaries with no loyalty, immediately surrendered or fled. The war was over. Dante swayed, pressing his hand to his bleeding side. Raven ran to him, catching him before he fell. I've got you. I've got you. Raven. He touched her face, his hands shaking. You're safe. Thank God. You're bleeding. I'll live. He pulled her close despite the pain. You're safe. That's all that matters. Marco appeared with medics. They wanted to separate them, treat Dante's injuries. He refused until Raven promised she wouldn't leave his side. Only then did he let them work. The medics stitched him up in the back of an ambulance while police sirens approached. But Dante had made calls. The right people, the right palms greased. By the time the cops arrived, the narrative was set. Moretti had kidnapped Raven Cole, violating his restraining order. Dante Salvatore had rescued her in self-defense. Witnesses confirmed it. The surveillance evidence from Inferno supported it. The law, for once, sided with the criminals. It's over, Dante whispered as they drove away from the warehouse. It's finally over. Raven leaned against him, careful of his injury. Around them, the city woke to a new dawn. News helicopters circled overhead. The story would dominate headlines for weeks. Vincent Moretti, crime lord, dead in a warehouse shootout. Dante Salvatore, legitimate businessman, cleared of all charges. They'd won. Against all odds, they'd survived. But Raven couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning, because she'd changed in that warehouse. Learned what she was capable of, and she'd realized something terrifying. She wasn't afraid of Dante's world anymore. She belonged in it. Chapter 10. Reckoning. 1 week later, Raven stood in Dante's office, staring at the wall where he'd hung her father's notebook in a frame. A memorial to the man who'd started all of this. He'd be proud of you, Dante said from behind her. Would he? She touched the glass. I helped kill a man. Became part of a criminal organization. Lost any claim to innocence. You brought justice to the person who destroyed your family. That's not a sin, Bella. That's closure. He wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her back against his chest. And you're not part of a criminal organization. You're part of my organization. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. He turned her to face him. His stitches were healing well, the bruises fading. We take from the corrupt, protect the vulnerable, play the game by our rules. It's not the law, but it's justice. And sometimes justice is more important. She looked up at him. This man who'd become everything to her. What happens now? Now? His smile was slow, dangerous, perfect. Now we finish consolidating power. Moretti's territories are in chaos. His allies are scrambling to make deals. We're in a position to control half of the Northeast if we play this right. That's not what I meant. I know what you meant. He cupped her face. You're asking about us. About what comes after the war. Yes. The answer is everything. He kissed her softly. Everything I promised. Marriage, family, forever. But first, he pulled back, his expression turning serious. I need to clean house. Make sure there are no more threats, no more Moretti's waiting to strike. Over the next weeks, Dante moved with surgical precision. Moretti's captains were given a choice: swear loyalty to Salvatore or leave New York forever. Most chose loyalty. The few who didn't disappeared. Raven learned not to ask about the disappeared. She also learned how to run an empire. Dante taught her everything: the legitimate businesses that funded the illegitimate ones, the political connections that kept the law at bay, the careful balance of fear and respect that maintained power. She was good at it, terrifyingly good. You have a gift for this, Marco observed one afternoon, watching her negotiate a truce between two feuding captains. Natural authority. People respect you. Or they fear Dante will kill them if they don't. Same thing in our world. By the end of the month, the Salvatore family was stronger than ever. Dante controlled more territory, commanded more loyalty, and answered to no one. He'd become exactly what he'd always been destined to be: king of New York's underworld, and Raven Cole was his queen. The formal ceremony came on a Friday night. Not a wedding, not yet, but an acknowledgement of her position. Every captain, every ally, every family connected to Salvatore gathered in the compound's main hall. Dante stood before them all, Raven at his side, and made a declaration that would ripple through the entire criminal underworld. This woman is my partner in all things. What I own, she owns. Who I protect, she protects. An attack on her is an attack on me. And anyone foolish enough to test that will learn what happens when you cross the Salvatore family. One by one, the captains knelt, a blood oath renewed, this time including her in the sacred circle. She was no longer just Dante's woman. She was part of the family, protected, powerful, feared. After alone in their room, Dante pulled her close. Any regrets? About which part? Falling for a criminal, becoming a criminal myself, or enjoying it far too much? He laughed. All of the above. No regrets. She meant it. You gave me something I never had. Power over my own life. The ability to fight back, to protect the people I love. That's worth any price. Even your soul? My soul was already sold the night you walked into that bar. She kissed him. I just didn't know it yet. Then I got a bargain. He deepened the kiss, his hands roaming her body with familiar possession. Because your soul is magnificent. That night, they finally consummated everything they'd built. Not rushed or desperate, but slow and deliberate. He worshipped every inch of her, whispering promises in Italian, marking her as his in every way that mattered. And she claimed him back, her nails raking down his back, her teeth leaving marks on his shoulder. When it was over, they lay tangled together, hearts racing, breath mingling. Marry me, Dante said, properly this time. Not a blood oath in a safe room, but vows in a church, in front of God and everyone. Make it legal and permanent and unbreakable. Yes. No hesitation. Yes, I'll marry you. His smile was incandescent. Next month, before you change your mind. I won't change my mind. I know, but I'm impatient. He kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips. I've waited my whole life for you, Raven Cole. I'm not waiting any longer. The next weeks passed in a blur of wedding preparations. Sienna, now Dante's chief operations officer, handled most of the logistics, thank God. Raven had no idea how to plan a Mafia wedding. Apparently, it involved guest lists that read like FBI watch lists and seating charts that required diplomatic genius. We can't seat the Genovese family near the Lucchese faction, Sienna explained, showing Raven yet another seating arrangement. Not after what happened in 03? What happened in 03? Nobody talks about 03. Sienna shuddered. Just trust me. Separate tables. Through it all, Dante remained a steady presence. He'd insisted on one thing. The wedding would be hers. Whatever she wanted, no matter how impractical or expensive or complicated, he'd move heaven and hell to give it to her. So she asked for something simple. A small ceremony in the compound's garden, under the stars, with only people they actually cared about. No media circus, no political theater, just them, their family, and the future they were building together. Dante looked at her like she'd handed him the world. Perfect. Her wedding dress arrived a week before the ceremony. Custom-made, champagne silk, elegant without being ostentatious. When she tried it on, Sienna cried, "You look like a queen. I feel like an imposter." Raven studied herself in the mirror. The woman looking back was a stranger, confident, powerful, dangerous. Nothing like the waitress who'd kicked out a Mafia boss 3 months ago. "You earned this," Sienna said firmly. "You fought for it, bled for it. You're not an imposter. You're exactly where you belong." The night before the wedding, Dante found Raven in the library, reading her father's notebook one final time. He sat beside her, pulling her into his lap. "Second thoughts?" "No, just saying goodbye." She closed the notebook. "To the girl I was. The life I thought I'd have. It's bittersweet. You can still have a different life. I'd let you go if you asked. I know. That's why I'm not asking." She turned to face him. "You gave me a choice, Dante. Every step of the way you gave me a choice. And I choose this. Choose you. Choose us. No regrets. Not even about the violence. Especially not about the violence." She kissed him. "Because it means I'm never helpless again. Never at someone else's mercy. I have power now. Real power. And I'm going to use it to protect the people who can't protect themselves. Just like my father tried to do. Then we'll do it together." He stood, lifting her with him. "One last night before you're officially Mrs. Salvatore. How should we spend it? Violently or passionately? Both. Definitely both." They spent the night tangled together, celebrating the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. By dawn, Raven knew with absolute certainty. This was where she belonged, in Dante Salvatore's arms, in his empire, in his heart. And God help anyone who tried to take it from her. Chapter 11. King and Queen. The wedding day dawned clear and perfect. Raven woke alone. Dante had been banned from their room by Sienna, who took the no seeing the bride before the ceremony rule very seriously. It's bad luck. "We're criminals planning a Mafia wedding," Raven pointed out. "I think we're already courting bad luck. All the more reason to follow tradition." Sienna bustled around, helping her into the dress, fixing her hair, applying minimal makeup. "You need all the good karma you can get." By 3 p.m., the garden was transformed. White flowers everywhere, subtle lighting, chairs arranged in intimate rows, only 50 guests, a tiny number by Mafia standards. But these were the people who mattered. Marco, looking uncomfortable in a tux, Dante's legitimate business partners carefully vetted, allied family heads who'd proven loyal during the war with Moretti, and Lily Raven's sister had been brought from Boston, her cancer in remission, thanks to the treatment Dante had funded. She sat in the front row, tears already streaming down her face. "You look so beautiful," she mouthed. Music started. Raven walked down the makeshift aisle alone. She'd refused to be given away like property. Her eyes locked on Dante, waiting at the altar. He wore a black tux that made him look like a gorgeous nightmare, his expression raw with emotion. When she reached him, he took her hands. "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You're not bad yourself." The officiant, a priest Dante had somehow convinced to perform a ceremony for 2 criminals, began. "Dearly beloved." The vows were traditional, with a few modifications. Dante added his own. "I promise to protect you, cherish you, and never give you reason to regret choosing me. I promise to be worthy of your trust, even when I don't deserve it. And I promise that anyone who threatens you will learn exactly why they call me the devil." The guests laughed nervously. Raven's turn. "I promise to stand beside you, not behind you. To fight for us, for our family, for everything we build together. I promise to call you out when you're being an arrogant ass, and to love you even when you frustrate me. And I promise that anyone who threatens you will learn that I'm just as dangerous as you are." More nervous laughter. The rings? Marco produced them, matching bands of platinum and black diamond. Dante slid hers on, adding to the ring he'd given her that night in the safe room. She did the same for him, her hands shaking slightly. "By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." The priest looked relieved to reach this point. "You may kiss the bride." Dante pulled her close, kissing her deeply, possessively, a claim in front of everyone. When they finally broke apart, the guests erupted in applause. "Mrs. Salvatore," he whispered against her lips. "Mrs. Salvatore," she agreed. "I like the sound of that." The reception was everything a Mafia wedding should be. Elegant, expensive, with an undercurrent of violence barely contained. Toasts were made, some sincere, some strategic. Gifts were presented, each more extravagant than the last. The best gift came from Marco. The federal prosecutor just announced charges against 12 of Moretti's former captains. Racketeering, corruption, murder. Your father's notes made that possible. His legacy lives on. Raven hugged him, ignoring his discomfort with affection. "Thank you. For everything. For protecting me, believing in me. You earned it," he said gruffly. "Plus you're good for the boss." He smiles now. It's disturbing but appreciated. As night fell, Dante pulled her onto the dance floor. They moved together perfectly in sync while the guests watched and whispered. The new power couple of New York's underworld, the devil and his queen. "Happy?" Dante murmured. Deliriously. She rested her head on his shoulder, though I keep waiting for something terrible to happen. Nothing terrible is going to happen. I've secured everything. Made deals with every family. You're safe. We're safe. For now. For always. He tilted her chin up. I told you I don't lose. And I'll never lose you. That's a promise. Later, after the guests had left and they were finally alone, Dante carried her to their room, tradition he insisted on. He set her down gently, then pulled out a final gift. One more thing. He opened the velvet box. Inside, a key. Just a simple key, nothing special. What's this? To your sister's new apartment. In Boston, near the hospital. Fully paid for, furnished, staffed with a private nurse for when she needs care. He pressed the key into her hand. She'll never have to worry about money again. Medical bills, living expenses, everything, handled. It's my wedding gift to you. Her safety, her future. Raven's vision blurred with tears. Dante, your family is my family now, and I take care of family. He wiped her tears. No more worrying about her. No more fighting to keep her alive. She's safe. You did it. You saved her. She kissed him then, grateful, desperate, loving. He responded with equal intensity, carefully unzipping her dress, worshipping every inch of skin he revealed. They made love slowly, tenderly, celebrating their union and everything they'd survived to reach this moment. After, tangled together in the darkness, Dante whispered, I love you, Raven Salvatore. From the moment you threw me out of that bar, I was yours. I just didn't know it yet. I love you too, even though you're insane and dangerous and completely wrong for me. Especially because I'm all those things. She laughed, then grew serious. What comes next? After the honeymoon, after the celebrating? What do we do with this empire we've built? We rule it. His arms tightened around her. Together. We'll expand legitimate businesses, clean up some of the darker operations, use our power to protect people who need protecting. We'll be the kind of leaders that actually make a difference. It won't be perfect or legal or entirely moral, but it'll be ours. And if someone challenges us, then we remind them why they call us the most dangerous couple in New York. His smile was dark. Because you're not just my wife, Bella. You're my equal, my partner, my queen, and anyone who forgets that will learn a very painful lesson. I like the sound of that. Good, because tomorrow we have work to do. He kissed her forehead. But tonight we celebrate. The war is over. The wedding is done. And the rest of our lives begins now. Raven settled against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, and thought about the journey that had brought her here, from waitress to widow to queen, from helpless to powerful, from alone to loved. It had been violent, chaotic, insane, and she wouldn't change a single moment. At Chapter 12, Forever Bound. 6 months later, Raven Cole Salvatore stood on the balcony of their penthouse, overlooking Manhattan. The city sparkled below, their city now in all the ways that mattered. Dante's empire had expanded exponentially. They controlled territories from Boston to Philadelphia, with legitimate businesses fronting carefully organized operations. but they'd also changed things. Dante had cut ties with anything involving drugs or human trafficking. They'd invested heavily in community programs, rehab centers, job training facilities. The neighborhoods under Salvatore protection were safer, cleaner, more prosperous. It turned out a criminal empire run with actual ethics could do more good than most legitimate governments. "You're thinking too loud," Dante said, joining her on the balcony. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, pulling her back against his chest. "What's on your mind?" "Just thinking about how different everything is. 6 months ago, I was a waitress worried about my sister's medical bills. Now she gestured at the city. "This, any regrets? You keep asking me that. And I'll keep asking until I believe your answer." He kissed her neck. "Because this life, it's not easy. It's not safe, and it definitely isn't what you were raised to believe was right. No, but it's right for us." She turned in his arms. "We're doing good, Dante, real good. Those 12 captains Marco mentioned at our wedding, all convicted. Moretti's entire network dismantled. And the Salvatore Foundation," she smiled. "Your legitimate charity work has helped hundreds of families." "Our charity work," he corrected. "You run half of it." She did. Turned out her years of poverty had given her unique insight into what struggling families actually needed. The foundation provided job training, addiction counseling, legal aid, and educational scholarships, all funded by Dante's less-than-legal activities, but the results were undeniably positive. "Still feels surreal sometimes," she admitted, "that we're making a difference. That's because most criminals are idiots." Dante's hand settled on her still flat stomach. "They take and destroy. We take from those who can afford to lose it and give to those who need it. Robin Hood with better guns." Raven covered his hand with hers. "Speaking of which, you're pregnant." Not a question. A statement of fact delivered with absolute certainty and bone-deep satisfaction. She blinked. "How did you... You've been nauseous in the mornings, crying at commercials, and you haven't had your period in 6 weeks. I pay attention, Bella." His smile was incandescent. "We're having a baby. I was going to tell you tonight. I had this whole romantic plan. Fuck the plan." He kissed her hard, then dropped to his knees, pressing his face to her stomach. "We're having a baby, a mini version of you to terrorize me for the next 18 years. Or a mini version of you to give me heart attacks. Either way." He looked up at her, and she'd never seen him so vulnerable. "Thank you for this. For everything. For choosing me when you should have run. I told you. No regrets." She pulled him to his feet. "Though I'm curious how you're going to handle diaper duty." "I'll delegate." "Like hell you will." He laughed, pulling her close. "Fine, I'll learn. Though I reserve the right to have Marco assist during particularly difficult situations. Your consigliere is not babysitting our child. He owes me. Remember when you threw him? They bickered playfully, but underneath was joy. Pure, uncomplicated joy. The kind Raven had thought she'd never feel again after her father died. Later that evening, Dante called an impromptu family meeting. The core Salvatore leadership gathered in the compound's main room. Marco, Sienna, Dante's 3 top captains, and a few trusted allies. "I have an announcement," Dante said, his arm around Raven's waist. "In approximately 7.5 months, there will be a new member of the Salvatore family." "My wife is pregnant." The room erupted. Marco looked faint. Sienna squealed. The captains offered gruff congratulations tinged with genuine happiness. This was unprecedented. Il Diavolo having an heir, building a legacy beyond violence. "This changes things," Marco said once the celebration died down. "Security needs to triple. We need to secure better medical facilities." And he swallowed hard. "We need to prepare for succession." "I'm not dying," Dante said dryly. "No, but you're becoming a father. That means thinking long-term, planning for contingencies." Marco pulled out his tablet, already running scenarios. "If something happens to you, Mrs. Salvatore needs to be able to run everything herself." "She already can," Dante said simply. "But yes, we formalize it. Draw up paperwork. Make it clear that Raven has full authority to act in my name. She's not just my wife, she's my co-ruler. Equal in all things," the captains nodded. This wasn't surprising. They'd all seen her in action over the past months. Tough, fair, strategic. She'd earned their respect the hard way. "There's something else," Raven said, standing. "With a baby coming, we need to clean up the organization even more. I don't want my child growing up around unnecessary violence. So I'm proposing we accelerate the transition to legitimate businesses. 5-year plan to phase out everything illegal except the essentials." Silence. This was radical. Dangerous even, but Dante was already nodding. "She's right. We've been talking about it anyway. Now we have a deadline and a reason." He looked at his captains. "Start the process. Identify which operations are sustainable legally. Sunset everything else. We adapt or we die. And I plan to be around to teach my kid how to throw a proper punch." Over the following months, the Salvatore empire transformed. It wasn't easy. Rivals saw their transition as weakness and tested them constantly. Each challenge was met with overwhelming force, a reminder that going legitimate didn't mean going soft. Raven's pregnancy progressed smoothly despite the stress. She refused to slow down, running operations from the compound when Dante insisted she avoid travel. Sienna became her right hand, handling meetings when morning sickness made appearances impossible. "You're supposed to be resting," Dante would scold, finding her reviewing contracts at 2 a.m. "I'm pregnant, not dying. The doctor said I'm healthy." The doctor also said to avoid stress. Running a criminal empire is stressful. "Then stop being part of a criminal empire." She'd grin, knowing she'd won the argument. He'd kiss her, muttering in Italian about stubborn women, then help her review the contracts because they were a team, in everything. 7 months into her pregnancy, on a cold February morning, Raven went into labor 3 weeks early. Dante handled it with his usual calm, which is to say, he nearly crashed the car driving her to their private medical facility, shouted at every doctor who came near her, and threatened to shoot someone when they told him he couldn't be in the delivery room during prep. "Sir, hospital policy? I don't care about your policy. That's my wife, my child. I'm not leaving." Raven, between contractions, managed to laugh. "Let him stay. He's already terrifying your staff. Imagine what he'll do if you kick him out." They let him stay. 14 hours later, at 6:47 a.m. on February 14th, Valentine's Day appropriately, Raven gave birth to a daughter. 7 pounds 4 ounces with her mother's dark hair and her father's intense eyes. Dante held her with shaking hands. This man who'd killed without hesitation, who'd built an empire on blood and fear, completely undone by 8 pounds of screaming infant. "She's perfect," he whispered. "Absolutely perfect." "She has your scowl," Raven observed, exhausted but happy. "She has your spirit. Look at that grip." The baby had wrapped her tiny fingers around his thumb and was holding on like she'd never let go. Strong, like her mother. Hay named her Sophia Rose Salvatore. Sophia for Dante's mother, Rose for Raven's. A bridge between 2 worlds, 2 families, 2 legacies. The christening was held at the compound, attended by everyone who mattered. Lily came from Boston, healthy and thriving. Marco stood as godfather, looking simultaneously proud and terrified. Sienna was godmother, already spoiling Sophia with ridiculously expensive baby clothes. "To Sophia," Dante toasted at the reception. "May she have her mother's courage, her grandfather's integrity, and none of her father's criminal tendencies." "Here's hoping," Raven added, raising her glass of sparkling cider. But as she watched Dante cradle their daughter, watched the way the hardened criminals surrounding them softened in Sophia's presence, Raven knew one thing with certainty. This child would grow up knowing she was loved, protected, valued. She'd have opportunities Raven never had, advantages most people couldn't dream of. And yes, she'd grow up knowing her father was dangerous. Her mother was deadly, and their empire was built on morally questionable foundations. But she'd also grow up knowing they'd fought for something. Fought to make their corner of the world better. Fought to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. Fought for family, for justice, for love. That night, with Sophia sleeping in her bassinet beside their bed and Dante's arms wrapped around her, Raven thought about the journey that had brought her here. From a dive bar on 5th and Carmine to a penthouse, overlooking Manhattan. From kicking out a Mafia boss to becoming a Mafia queen. From helpless and afraid to powerful and loved. "Thank you," she whispered to Dante in the darkness. For what? For walking into that bar, for being impossible to ignore, for giving me a choice and respecting whatever I chose. She turned to face him, for loving me when I couldn't imagine being loved. Bella, you made that easy. You're the most lovable, infuriating, magnificent woman I've ever met. He kissed her forehead. I should be thanking you. You took a monster and made him human again. You gave me a family, a legacy beyond violence, a reason to be better. We made each other better. Yes. He pulled her closer, and we're going to keep making each other better. For Sophia, for us, for everyone counting on us, no pressure, immense pressure. But we'll handle it. We always do. His hand found hers in the darkness, their rings clicking together, his and hers, bound by metal and vows and choices made in safe rooms and warehouses, and finally in a garden under the stars. Together. Together, she agreed. In her bassinet, Sophia made a small sound, not quite awake, just letting them know she was there. Both parents turned toward her immediately, protective instincts overriding everything else. She's going to be trouble, Dante predicted. Absolutely. She's a Salvatore, Raven smiled. And a Cole. Double trouble. God help us all. But he was smiling too, that rare, genuine smile reserved only for his family. The smile that said despite everything, the violence, the danger, the constant threat, he'd found something worth protecting. Something worth fighting for, something worth living for. Love, and in the end, that was all that mattered. The waitress who'd kicked out a mafia boss had become a queen. The devil who'd claimed her had become a father. And together, they'd built an empire. Dangerous, yes, but also just. Powerful, certainly, but also protective. Criminal by law, perhaps, but moral by their own code. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. It was better. It was real.